Chapter 2163 Blood Emperor Sanctuary Grounds at the Imperial City, once Emperor Bai, and the rest were informed of the three emperors' world experts' hiding spot. They made their preparations. Within 2 days, the Eternal Chaotic World Army gathered once again. They headed straight for the ancient Blood Forbidden Grounds. Kaiser Blood, located at the deepest part of the ancient Blood Forbidden Grounds, was the first to sense the entry of the army. The Eternal Chaotic World Army is here, Kaiser Blood said. They managed to find us in the end. Lord Fun and Demon King Chun, you were not surprised. However, they knew even though the ancient Blood tribe and its ancient Blood Emperor were extremely formidable, they were not allies with the three emperors' world at the end of the day. It would be wishful thinking to assume the tribe would block Jian Wushuang for them. The army would eventually make its way towards the Blood Emperor Sanctuary Grounds. It was simply faster than they had imagined. Kaiser Blood, how are your preparations going? Lord Fun looked over. It's almost done. We simply need to sacrifice the items mentioned in the plan, and it'll be done, Kaiser Blood said coldly. Lord Fun, Demon King Chinyu, and Lung Ruksha's eyes drooped. They knew what needed to be sacrificed. We have no choice. This is for our final objective, Kaiser Blood said coldly. Go, make your preparations. The Eternal Chaotic World's army will arrive soon. Under the dark void was Kaiser Blood, sitting. He had a grin on his face, a grin so sinister that anyone that caught their eyes on it would feel shivers down their spine. Hee, the plan I've crafted for years is finally beginning. The ancient Blood Forbidden Grounds were dangerous, but actually the only dangerous part of it was the ancient Blood tribe. But after the ancient Blood Emperor's compromise, providing Jian Wushuang safe passage towards the Blood Emperor Sanctuary Grounds, the Eternal Chaotic World Army did not encounter any danger along the way, and swiftly arrived at its destination. The three emperors' world experts are hiding here. Countless Eternal Chaotic World experts had their eyes glued on the domain covered by a formation. Even with the formation's blockade, they could still feel a thick aura coming from within. Without a doubt, there were many experts hiding inside. Who would have thought they would hide at the top forbidden ground of the three emperors' world? Abysmal Saint Master sneered. Luckily, the Sword Emperor was able to convince the ancient Blood tribe to step back. If not, it would have been extremely difficult for our troops to enter here. Red Dragon King laughed. The surrounding great emperors all looked towards Jian Wushuang in admiration. After countless battles, Jian Wushuang's status within the Eternal Chaotic World had risen to the very top. The great emperors were all sincerely convinced. Everyone, although we have found their hiding spot, we must remain vigilant, Jian Wushuang said. The three emperors' world's forces are no weaker than ours. Even though we scored a major victory at the Imperial City, they still have many experts and more. They were unprepared the previous time, but now will be different. It will be a tough fight for us. Hearing this, the surrounding great emperors all nodded, their faces ever so serious. Even though they had destroyed the three emperors' world forces in the previous battle, they dared not let their guard down. The battle was too important. If they lost, the Eternal Chaotic World would be finished. According to what I know, the Blood Emperor Sanctuary Grounds has a space tunnel linking to outside domains. The three emperors' world experts have definitely sensed our arrival, yet they have not left. From the looks of it, they wish for a final battle against us here. Jian Wushuang said coldly. The Blood Emperor Sanctuary Grounds has been under the three emperors' world for the longest period of time. With the added formation, the grounds are not in our favor. But at this juncture, it is impossible for the three emperors' world forces to initiate the fight. In order to secure a victory, we need to wipe out their entire forces once and for all, Ancestor Tian Chun said. If that is the case, let us fight. Emperor Bei's voice sent out chills. Send the message, attack head-on, and destroy the formation. Sun's soul power surrounded the entire eternal chaotic world army. In an instant, the many experts, great emperors included, made their move. Waves and waves of powerful attacks, though not amplified with special formations, attacked in the same direction. A terrifying howl was let out. Within the Blood Emperor Sanctuary grounds, the three emperors' world experts had already gathered the moment the eternal chaotic world army had arrived. The three emperors' world forces were originally no weaker than the eternal chaotic world. But after the battle at the three emperors' world, along with the raid on the three emperors' world, they had suffered heavy losses. The experts that had gathered at the Blood Emperor Sanctuary grounds totaled no more than 3,000, less than 3,000 Sir God and Emperor Gods. There were only 20-odd great emperors. Their strengths could not be compared to the eternal chaotic world forces. As the terrifying howl was let out, the three emperors' world experts' faces turned serious. Have they started attacking the formation? Kaiser Blood stood at the top and watched the formation shake in front of his eyes. The elixirs I gave you all, consume them now. Chapter 2164, Final Battle. At the Blood Emperor Sanctuary grounds, the 3,000-odd experts held red elixirs in their hands. The pill was given to them by Kaiser Blood. Each of them had one. Kaiser Blood had only mentioned that it would be effective during the upcoming battle, but did not describe the exact effects. As the battle was about to begin, they hesitated as Kaiser Blood commanded them to consume the elixir. What are you waiting for? Consume it now. A low roar came from Demon King Chinyu, along with a terrifying aura. The three emperors' world's experts froze. They were not sure what the elixir would do exactly, but some consumed the elixir immediately out of worship and trust of the three emperors. The rest followed. Even the 20-odd great emperors consumed the elixirs one by one. Seeing this, Kaiser Blood and Demon King Chun, you smiled with satisfaction. An unprecedented roar could be heard. The surrounding array around the Blood Emperor Sanctuary grounds was extremely solid. Even a third-stage Great Emperor would have difficulty bringing it down. But now, there were more than 4,000 eternal chaotic world experts attacking at the same time. Even without an attack superposition formation, a simple attack was already extremely formidable. After 2 waves, the array was about to collapse. Immediately, the third wave of attacks began. Pung! The array finally fell apart. Charge! Emperor Bei's grand voice echoed. Charge! Charge! The eternal chaotic world experts charged in like bees. The 3,000-odd three emperors world experts that had just consumed the elixir charged out, as well under the leadership of the great emperors. There were a total of 7,000-odd almighties in the battle, of which more than 50 of them were great emperors. They had collided head-on in the blink of an eye. The final battle that determined the life and death of each other's worlds had finally broken out. Dai! Abysmal Saint Master had morphed into a dark beast. His boundless darkness covered nearly 1/5 of the battlefield. The endless darkness formed several sharp spikes and pierced almost 10 experts, killing them instantly. At the final battle, Abysmal Saint Master and the other great emperors no longer cared for their statuses and used their full power. They killed everyone in their way, regardless of if they were Sir Gods, Emperor Gods, or Great Emperors. The same was true of the 3 emperors' world Great Emperor experts. Those Great Emperors tended to stick together on the battlefield. Not long after the Abysmal Saint Master charged into the battlefield, a beast-like bald man appeared in front of him. It was one of the second-stage Great Emperors of the 3 Emperors' world, Ling Zong. You, Abysmal Saint Masters, eyes were fixated on Lingzong and smiled coldly. When I first saw you, I was only but a first-stage Great Emperor. Now, I have reached the second stage. Let's see how you handle me. After saying that, Abysmal Saint Master made his move. Suddenly, he was engaged in fierce combat with Lingzong. On other battlefields, Underworld God, Red Dragon King, King Qinsheng, Black Dragon Emperor, and other second-stage Great Emperors, along with many first-stage Eternal Chaotic World Great Emperors, were engaged in similar combat with the enemy Great Emperors. For the ordinary Sir Gods and Emperor Gods, their battle was even fiercer. Prepare the heaven-piercing arrows. Ancestor Tian Chen suddenly issued the order. 3 ballistae appeared at the edge of the battlefields, along with 10 odd almighties to load the arrows. In an instant, the 3 heaven-piercing arrows were launched. At an incredible speed, the arrows struck 3 emperors, world great emperors. 2 great emperors were destroyed immediately. The other great emperor was left severely injured. Activate the star god puppets. Prepare the dragon imprisoning formation. With Ancestor Tian Chen's command, the Eternal Chaotic World's trump cards were all used with the purpose of striking the 3 emperors' world where it would hurt the most. Of course, the 3 emperors' world forces had their own set of trump cards. They simply had no time to prepare during the previous battle. Now was different. Bloodbone Dragon, go! Howl, 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 howl. A chain of ear-shattering roars could be heard from afar. 10 gigantic crimson dragons appeared, but only their exoskeletons could be seen. Then 10 gigantic crimson dragons each had a strong aura and had the fighting power of a great emperor. There were 10 dragons there. Destruction Divine Weapon, go! Hum. There were 3 loud bangs on the battlefield, and 3 behemoths descended from above. The 3 behemoths were in full black. They were human in black armor, holding black spears. They were extremely large and thousands of feet tall. An aura so strong it could destroy the heavens exuded from the trio. The Destruction Divine Weapon was a weapon from the ancient era. Although the 3 divine weapons were of a low level, they minimally needed an early-stage chaotic realm expert to control it. Once controlled, the 3 Destruction Divine Weapons possessed the second-stage Great Emperor powers, therefore able to counter Jian Wushuang. Bloodbone Dragon, Destruction Divine Weapon. The 3 Emperors' world were throwing out their trump cards as well. In fact, they had had more trump cards, but they had lost them at the previous battle. They were no longer able to retrieve them from the imperial city. The decisive battle was fought intensely for days. The entire Blood Emperor Sanctuary grounds was in ruin. Even the ancient Blood Tribe's territory was affected. The aura released by many experts had already reached the ancient Blood Tribe's grounds. Fortunately, most of the tribe under the ancient Blood Emperor's lead were brought to the edge of the ancient Blood Forbidden Grounds, so they were not involved in that dark war. The internal battles of humans can get really intense. Ancient Blood Emperor stood there, sensing the aura and might that came from the battlefield. Even he was taken aback. Chapter 2165-something. Not Rai at the void near the edge of the battlefield, Jian Wushuang, Emperor Bai, and Ancestor Tian Chen stood side by side. Jian Yi stood behind Jian Wushuang. The 3 Emperors' world has so many trump cards. Not bad. Jian Wushuang looked at the 3 Destruction Divine Weapons from afar and could not help sighing. This is even after we conquered the imperial city. Imagine what they could pull if we had not, Ancestor Tian Chen said. The trump cards they possess now are comparable to ours, but ours beats them slightly. In terms of fighting strength, our side has the absolute advantage. Putting the trump cards aside, regardless of the Sir Gods and Emperor Gods battles or the Great Emperor level duels, the Eternal Chaotic World held the absolute advantage, and that advantage was increasing consistently. There was a significant gap in the quantity and quality of experts on both sides from the very beginning. If the fighting continued, they would take no more than half a day to decimate the three emperors' world forces. It is too early to say. The three emperors' world leaders have not made their moves yet. Emperor Bai said, in terms of the highest third-stage fighting power, we are not as good as them. Ancestor Tian Chun and Jian Wushuang nodded. Third-stage Great Emperor fighting powers. Only Emperor Bai and Jian Wushuang possessed that in the eternal chaotic world. On the other side, the three emperors' world had Kaiser Blood, Lord Fun, Demon King Chenyu, and Ba Su, making it 4 people. Among them, Kaiser Blood's strength was estimated to be close to Emperor Bai's, and Lord Fun was definitely stronger than Jian Wushuang. It would be easier to handle Demon King Chenyu and Ba Su. Kaiser Blood's methods are unfathomable. Even I do not have absolute confidence in winning. If we were to really fight, I'm afraid he alone could keep me busy. Emperor Bai said, if I put in my best, I could block Lord Fun and Demon King Chenyu together. But it'll be hard. Ba Su's the weakest. Jian Yi, could you block him? Jian Wushuang looked towards Jian Yi. Jian Yi himself was at pinnacle second-stage fighting powers and an ancient era expert. I can try, Jian Yi said. We can think of ways to block these 4 third-stage great emperors, but there is one more person besides them. Have you all realized? Emperor Bai asked. Jian Wushuang's eyes turned towards the void. A 5th figure stood there. In addition to Kaiser Blood, Lord Fun, Demon King Chenyu, and Ba Su, there was one more person. It was a veiled woman with a perfect figure. Lung Rushue. Jian Wushuang's eyes flickered with astonishing sharpness, his gaze fixated on the only woman amongst the others. That Lung Rushue seemed to have felt Jian Wushuang's gaze as well, and smiled at him. Something's wrong. Jian Wushuang's face sunk. What's wrong? Emperor Bai and Ancestor Tian Chun looked towards him. Don't you feel that the 3 emperors' world leaders are too calm? Jian Wushuang asked. Too calm. Emperor Bai and Ancestor Tian Chun frowned and squinted at the leaders. Indeed, the leaders were very calm. All of them were indifferent, and one could not sense any form of anxiety from them. That's strange. The 3 emperors' world forces are about to lose at any moment. But they don't seem to be in a hurry. Ancestor Tian Chen's eyebrows frowned. The battle concerned the life and death of the 2 camps. Jian Wushuang, Emperor Bai, Ancestor Tian Chun, and the rest were anxious to defeat their enemy. They only hoped to defeat them. But Kaiser Blood and the rest, it seemed like they were in no hurry at all. You mean, they don't care that they were losing? Or perhaps they had another trump card, Jian Wushuang said. The 3 emperors' world had carefully planned and prepared for so many years, their methods unfathomable. Maybe they have other trump cards that could turn the tables around. We must be careful. Emperor Bai looked coldly. Tian Chun, send a message. Get our army to be on their guard. Even the great emperors as well. Understood. Ancestor Tian Chun nodded his head and said, rest assured, even if they have other tricks up their sleeve, so do we. We still have 3 Emperor tokens unused. The Emperor token was crafted by him personally and contained a full blow. However, his power was too strong. The eternal chaotic world was simply unable to create a token that could contain his full blow. They could not even create one that could contain the full blow of a normal great emperor. Even if they managed to create one, there was still a high probability of failure within it. Therefore, there was almost no token with great emperor powers within the eternal chaotic world. The most they could do was to use some special treasures, sacrifice a great portion of great emperor divine power, and find another capable great emperor to guide the power. And only then could they barely create the token. Jian Wushuang had encountered similar attacks in the past, but it was nothing compared to the full blow of a great emperor. The fact that Emperor Bai was able to create the Emperor token was due to the 10 high-level tokens he had found in ancient battlefields. He had spent a long time experimenting, finally creating 3. The remaining tokens were wasted and destroyed. The 3 Emperor tokens are held by 2 great emperors and 1 pinnacle emperor god now. The 3 of them are separated into different corners of the battlefield as well, for them to use anytime they need to, Ancestor Tian Chen said. Good. Emperor Bai nodded. But Jian Wushuang's face was still cold. He felt that there was more behind the calmness of the 3 emperors' world leaders. Chapter 2166 Demon at the Void, near the edge of the battlefield. The 3 emperors' world leaders stood there indifferently, despite the position they were in. It is about time. The elixir should work now, Kaiser Blood murmured. It should start now, Lord Fin nodded. Their eyes contained a hint of expectation. At the center of the battlefield, HNGH. Abysmal Saint Master sneered and turned into a headless giant in an instant, surrounded by boundless darkness. The headless giant held a large black spear. Under the Abysmal Saint Master's control, the black spear was thrown out. Hung. The void had been pierced to form a large hole, and terrifying power was heading for it. Scram! Abysmal Saint Master's opponent, the beast-like bald man Ling Zong, had turned into a real beast by now. His eyes were bloodshot with frenzy as he held a battle axe in his hands. The battle axe struck down with a swing as if he were about to split the heavens. With a large bang, the black spear in the headless giant's hand started to fall apart. A great portion of the giant was reduced to darkness. What? Abysmal Saint Master was shocked. His abilities have improved. From the beginning of the battle, both had already demonstrated their full capabilities and were on par in terms of power. But now, Abysmal Saint Master could feel Ling Zong exerting greater pressure on him. Without a doubt, Ling Zong's power had risen compared to in the beginning. Next, die, die, die. Ling Zong swung his axe again and again in frenzy. The power from within the giant axe was rising as well. Abysmal Saint Master's face darkened, and he did his best to block his attack, but he was struggling at every passing moment. What is happening? He's getting more terrifying. And it was not just him. All the experts of the eternal chaotic world, including the great emperors, could feel their opponents getting stronger. What is happening? Their powers are getting stronger, but not naturally. They must have used a treasure or elixir. Damn it, that great emperor was getting hooped by me a moment ago. Now he's on par on me, perhaps even stronger. The battlefield was being riled up. At the edge of the battlefield, Jian Wushuang, Emperor Bai, and Ancestor Tian Chen were watching. The change in the strength of the 3 emperors' world experts were all caught in their eyes. The strength of those experts has begun to improve. Not only the great emperors, even the normal Sir Gods and Emperor Gods have improved significantly as well. What is going on? Ancestor Tian Chen yelled. From the looks of it, they must have consumed some sort of elixir. But they are almighty level experts. Elixirs that can improve their powers in short periods of time are extremely rare. Furthermore, it seems like they all consumed it. But they did not consume any elixir in the battlefield. Emperor Bai frowned. Something's not right, Jian Wushuang suddenly said. What's wrong? Emperor Bai and Ancestor Tian Chen looked over. Their eyes, they seemed to be losing their sanity, turning into demons. Jian Wushuang said. Emperor Bai and Ancestor Tian Chen immediately looked towards those experts and were stunned. Indeed, they saw it as well. The fighting power the experts were displaying was much more powerful than before, and it was not stopping. Yet the look in their eyes was increasingly menacing. obviously losing their sanity as their powers increased. Many people had completely lost it and were slaughtering each other. They could not differentiate friend from foe. At the center of the battlefield, die! A frenzied yell could be heard from far. A burly man whose eyes were completely red slashed his sword at the man beside him. He was attacking a fellow 3 Emperors world expert. Pooh! Blood was spattered. The victim's head flew straight off. This is the 2 eternal chaotic world. Sir Gods completely froze. They're killing their own people. They've lost it. Crazy! Have they lost their minds? Indeed, many 3 Emperors world experts on the battlefield had lost their minds. They could not tell friend from foe, wantonly killing each other. Some were holding on, but barely. What is happening to me? The bald-headed man Ling Zong, as a second-stage great emperor, was able to keep his consciousness intact, but not for long. At that moment, he had the uncontrollable desire to slaughter everything in his path. The more he fought the urge, the faster the elixir's effects were stimulated. His sanity was disappearing rapidly. Even a second-stage great emperor cannot resist it. Abysmal Saint Master stood in front of Ling Zong, his eyes displaying a trace of pity. What a pitiful guy. Your leaders simply do not care if you live or die. Ah! A hysterical roar burst from Ling Zong's mouth. Second-stage Great Emperor Ling Zong had completely lost it. He swung his axe desperately towards Abysmal Saint Master. Under this state of madness, Ling Zong's abilities had improved significantly. His power was nearing pinnacle second stage. Die! 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 Crazy roars kept echoing around the battlefield. If even second stage Great Emperor Ling Zong had lost it, one could only imagine the other 3 Emperors world experts. A terrifying slaughter was about to begin. Chapter 21, 67 Self-Explosion. Emperor Bai, order our men to retreat immediately. Ancestor Tian Chen yelled. It's too late. This battle is too intense, and our experts are spread out all over the place. It is impossible to retreat now. Jian Wushuang said. This was the deciding battle. One side had to die. Both sides were mentally prepared to fight till then end and defeat their enemies. The experts from both sides were spread out all over the battlefield. Under these circumstances, it was basically impossible for any expert to retreat unharmed. Furthermore, the experts from the 3 Emperors world had entered a demonic state. They could not differentiate friends from foes. They became even more powerful and attacked all they saw in a frenzy. Under the frenzied attacks, one would have to pay a huge price in order to back off. Jian Wushuang is right. It is too late to retreat. We should find a way to kill all of these demonic experts. They have entered a demonic state and cannot think properly. We will exploit the fact that they cannot differentiate friends from foes and make them fight amongst each other. Emperor Bai said coldly. Yes. Ancestor Tian Chen nodded his head as he gave the order. They are so fast. Quick, let's work together and defeat them. Let's not be so anxious about killing them. Keep our trump cards and let these demons fight amongst themselves first. We will clean up after they are weakened. Protect yourself well and do not act on impulse. Think clearly. The experts from the eternal chaotic world executed their plan immediately. The experts from the 3 Emperors world, who had fallen into a demonic state, were extremely powerful. However, they fought head-on without any technique, and so they were destined to die. On the other hand, the experts from the eternal chaotic world merely worked with each other to keep themselves safe. The best plan for them was to allow the demons to fight among themselves. On the battlefield, the experts from the eternal chaotic world worked together as one. Under their influence, the experts from the 3 Emperors world started to battle amongst themselves. The situation on the battlefield was once again under control. Is the situation finally under control? We shall wait for these demons to be severely injured, then our men will attack and kill them all. Ancestor Tian Chun heaved a sigh of relief. It might not be that easy. Jian Wushuang said as he shook his head. Emperor Bai, who stood beside him, looked grim. No matter if it was Jian Wushuang or Emperor Bai, they weren't looking at the battlefield. Both of them were looking at the leaders of the three emperors' world who were standing at the edge of the battlefield. What are they trying to do? Emperor Bai wondered. They are really evil and heartless to make their subordinate fall into this demonic state and kill others heartlessly. Jian Wushuang clenched his fist as a unique emotion flashed across his eyes. This was because one of the few leaders of the three emperors' world was Lung Rushue. This is probably their trump card. Ancestor Tian Chun said, "There should be more than this. After all, there is no way they can win if they simply make their experts turned into this demonic state and try to kill other people. They must be up to something." Jian Wushuang muttered, "Kaiser Blood, Lord Fun, and Demon King Chun, you simply stood there coldly as they watched their subordinates fight. The leaders of the eternal chaotic world are smart. They ordered their men to protect themselves and will wait till our experts get severely injured before cleaning up the battlefield." Kaiser Blood smiled. "Humph, they think that's all there is to our plan?" Lord Fun smirked in disdain. As time passed, the demonic experts started to get stronger. Their power became even more violent and crazy. This power filled the entire battlefield. What followed was boom, boom, boom. The entire space was basically a storm of energy after the explosions. The radius of the storm was so large that many experts from the eternal chaotic world were caught in it. In an instant, at least 10 experts were dead, and many others got severely injured. This scene made the experts from the eternal chaotic world turn pale. Self-explosion. These demons chose to cast self-explosion? Oh no! Watch out! Boom, 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 boom. What followed were numerous explosions as the sound made nearly deafened people in the immediate vicinity. One would only cast self-explosion only when one knew that they were definitely dead and wanted to do the most damage to their opponents. This would cause them to release a terrifying amount of energy and destroy everything in the way. In reality, everyone here was in the chaotic realm. They were top-tier experts that had cultivated step by step until they got where they were today. Unless there was no hope left, who would be willing to cast self-explosion? Furthermore, the power of self-explosion would be around twice the power of their strongest attack. The power would not be concentrated, and the amount of damage it could deal was limited. No matter if it was in the eternal chaotic world or the three emperors' world, it was rare for an expert to cast self-explosion. However, the expert from the three emperors' world who entered the demonic state had chosen to cast self-explosion one by one. The amount of energy within these experts was at the peak as the diving power raged violently. This caused the power of their self-explosion to be 10 times more powerful. For example, when a Sir God cast self-explosion, the power level would be around that of a top-tier Sir God. In their demonic state, a Sir God's self-explosions would be equal to an Emperor God. If an Emperor God chose to cast self-explosion, it would reach the power level of a great emperor. If a great emperor cast self-explosion, that would be even more terrifying. There were around 800 experts from the three emperors' world, 10 of which were great emperors and hundreds of which were emperor gods. All of these experts had chosen to cast self-explosion under the demonic state. Devastating. Boom, 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 boom. The sound's explosion reverberated throughout the battle as divine power swept the entire battlefield. Those experts who were at the center of the battlefield were baptized by this wave of violent energy. Many shrill screams and yells could be heard everywhere around the battlefield. Chapter 2168, Tragic Death of Experts. At the edge of the battlefield, Jian Wushuang, Emperor Bai, and Ancestor Tianchun looked at the battlefield, which was covered in a violent storm of divine power, and listened to the occasional sounds of explosions. All they could do was stare angrily and helplessly. They wanted to go and save the experts, but they knew they wouldn't make it in time. This battlefield was far too large. A minimum number of experts could be saved even if they tried. Large numbers of experts from the eternal chaotic world started to die right in front of their eyes. Emperor God Zhu Xian. Jian Wushuang squinted his eyes and looked at him. Emperor God Zhu Xian had tried his best to break through into the realm of Great Emperor by paying a great price to enter the heaven-repairing palace, but he had failed in the end. After the battle started, Emperor God Zhu Xian fulfilled his promise and charged right at the front and fought in the center of the battlefield. 3 of the experts very close to him casted self-explosion. One of them was an ordinary Emperor God. One was close to the realm of Peak Emperor God. And the last was a Peak Emperor God, Emperor God Zhu Xian, and another Emperor God died immediately under the power of self-explosion. On the other side, the Almighties from the lineage of Star had gathered together. Amongst them were familiar faces: Hall Master Gu Xian, Emperor God Zhouyin, Emperor God Xianwu, and his lineal disciple in the realm of Sir God were in the battlefield. They had formed a battle formation and were fighting on the battlefield. A nearby Emperor God, Sir God, and a great emperor who was not too far away all cast self-explosion together. Some of the energy affected them. Under the overbearing energy, their battle formation fell apart. Oh no! Jian Wushuang turned pale. After the battle formation fell apart, the overbearing energy swept towards the experts from the lineage of Star. Even though the experts from the lineage of Star had tried their best to defend against the energy storm, Emperor God Zhouyin, Emperor God Xianwu, and Hall Master Nieyun had died instantly. On the other hand, Hall Master Gu Xian and He Xiu had barely survived but were severely injured. Zhouyin, Nieyun, Xianwu, Jian Wushuang was devastated. All he could do was hold himself back. Emperor Bai and Ancestor Tianchun were also doing the same. The same scene happened everywhere across the battlefield. Large numbers of experts had died under the self-explosion of the demons. There were great emperors among them. There were many great emperors from the 3 emperors' world who went into the demonic state. When these great emperors cast self-explosion, even great emperors found it difficult to defend against it. Yenzun. Jian Wushuang looked at a large man who had red skin. His holy body fell apart and died. That large man was one of the great emperors from Sanctuary Alliance, Yenzun. After Jian Wushuang had broken through to the 7th step of inverse cultivation, had fought Yenzun and severely beaten him up. They were both members of the Sanctuary Alliance and were allies. Now, Yenzun was dead. Master Wu. Jian Wushuang looked at another man. It was Master Wu. He was not originally part of the Sanctuary Alliance. After the eternal chaotic world fell into a crisis, he joined the Sanctuary Alliance without hesitation and fought alongside everyone else. Even though his performance was not the best in this battle, he had tried his best. However, one of the great emperors had cast self-explosion about 10 meters away. He took on about 90% of that power and died immediately. King Zhansong. Jian Wushuang trembled. Not just the Human Sanctuary Alliance, the Special Tribes Alliance too, were hit hard. King Zhansong was one of the 9-star ancient gods. Even though he had just broken through, he was extremely powerful given the natural advantage that ancient gods had. Now he was dead. Every famous great emperor had incredible power and was very difficult to kill. Under the self-explosion of hundreds of experts from the three emperors' world who were in the demonic state, almost everything was destroyed. It was difficult to defend against this overbearing momentum, even for great emperors. The cluster of self-explosions only lasted for a few seconds before it died down. The entire battlefield was left in an horrifying state. Violent divine power filled every single corner of the battlefield. It only started to dissipate after some time. Silence. The entire battlefield turned silent. Jian Wushuang, Emperor Bai, and Ancestor Tian Qin all scanned the battlefield with their bloodshot eyes. At the start of the battle, the eternal chaotic world had had around 4,000 excerpts, while the three emperors' world had had around 3,000. But now, there were only around 2,000 experts left alive. Every single expert from the three emperors' world, including great emperors, had died. The Stage 2 Great Emperor, Lingzong, had also died as he had used self-explosion. The remaining 2,000 experts were from the eternal chaotic world, compared to the number they started with. Half of them had died. The remaining 2,000 experts who had survived were all weak and severely injured. It seemed that they could die at any moment. No one was in prime condition. Even people like Abysmal Saint Master, Red Dragon King, Underworld God, King Qinsheng, and Black Dragon Emperor, who were Stage 2 Great Emperors, were severely injured. The Black Dragon Emperor had already been injured before the battle. She had participated in the battle before she had recovered and was not in a terrible state. The other great emperor from her clan had sadly died. Every great emperor was severely injured. Bastard. Emperor Bai trembled as he squeezed these two words out of his mouth. Damn it! Jian Wushuang shook with anger as a terrifying killing intent erupted. Both of them looked at the space that the leaders of the three emperors' world stood in. Not just them, but Ancestor Tian Qin and the surviving experts from the eternal chaotic world looked up in anger. 5 people stood in that space. These 5 people were responsible for planning all this. Chapter 2169, Opposing Blood. Under the angry stares of the experts from the eternal chaotic world, the 5 people other than Ba Su looked cold. Hee. It seems that many people died. Kaiser Blood exclaimed as he gave a sadistic smile. The 3 emperors' world took so long to accumulate these experts. But now, Demon King Chen Yu sighed lightly but looked indifferent. Back then, we sacrificed so much to create this world. It was to prepare for this day. Even though these experts died, they should be at peace since they fulfilled their purposes. Lord Fan said, "You guys are really cruel." Lung Rushue said as she scanned those 3 men. "Cruel? Hee. Before you comment about us, think of who you really are. If your unique constitution was fully exploited, that destruction might be even greater than the one I have just caused." Kaiser Blood smirked. Lung Rushue squinted her eyes but said no more. "All right, Kaiser Blood. Is the amount of blood chi sufficient after so many sacrifices?" Lord Fan asked. "Humph. It barely met the requirements." Kaiser Blood smiled. Hearing this, Demon King Chen Yu and Lord Fan were elated. "Looks like we can finally use that move." Lord Fan smiled coldly. On the other side, Jian Wushuang kept the expression of Kaiser Blood and friends in mind. When he saw the smile Kaiser Blood had on his face, he had a bad feeling about what was going to happen. What are these bastards trying to do? Jian Wushuang roared. To use a special method to cause his subordinates to turn into a demonic state so that they become stronger and killed more people. They would eventually die, unknowingly, a painful death. This was an extremely inhumane act. At the same time, he knew that there had to be a reason why Kaiser Blood did that. There had to be more to it than just causing mass damage and pain to the army from the eternal chaotic world. There must be something else he was hiding, or he was preparing. Emperor Bai and Ancestor Tian Chen both looked dark, as they also knew this. Right then, whoosh, Kaiser Blood finally moved in front of all the remaining experts. He took a few steps and appeared at the center of the battlefield. The experts from Eternal Chaotic World had already retreated to the Oyu Thankserts of the battlefield behind Jian Wushuang and Emperor Bai. On the battlefield, Kaiser Blood stood alone with his hands behind his back. He had a creepy smile. Emperor Bai, Jian Wushuang, do you still remember what I said to you inside the Imperial City? Kaiser Blood asked loudly. Jian Wushuang and Emperor Bai both raised their eyebrows. They definitely remembered what Kaiser Blood had told them. Ha, I said that I would prepare a surprise for both of you when we met again. How was it? Are the two of you happy with it? Kaiser Blood smirked. Jian Wushuang and Emperor Bai fell silent. Their killing intents started to rise. Kaiser Blood, let us not waste time on useless talk. Do what you planned on doing. Emperor Bai said coldly. Moves. Of course I have more up my sleeves. You will see soon enough. Kaiser Blood smiled playfully. The ground beneath him started shaking vigorously after he started laughing. What is this? The experts from the Eternal Chaotic World turned pale. What is happening beneath the ground? Jian Wushuang looked down as his soul power seeped deep into the ground. Soon, he found the reason behind the shaking. Deep underground was a large blood-red formation. This formation rose up slowly. It was originally thousands of feet underground. Now it was less than 1,000 and still on the rise. Not long after, it was less than 100 feet from the surface. When did this formation appear? Jian Wushuang wondered grimly. This is an extremely bizarre formation. I used my soul power to scan the entire Blood Emperor Sanctuary grounds, including deep underground. I did not realize that this formation was there. Emperor Bai said coldly. Emperor Bai was an inverse cultivator and the strongest expert from the Eternal Chaotic World. His fighting power was mysteriously powerful. The strength of soul was even greater than that of Jian Wushuang. Even so, he had not sensed this formation when he had scanned the underground of the Blood Emperor Sanctuary grounds. The formation was well hidden. A loud hum came from underground as a large blood-red formation emerged. This blood-red formation was saturated with blood qi. On closer look, this energy was in droplet form. No matter if it were Jian Wushuang, Emperor Bai, or any expert who was good with formations, they could not tell what formation this was. What is this formation? I have never seen it before. An emperor god who excelled in formation cried out. This formation doesn't seem dangerous, but why do I feel so agitated? This is no ordinary formation. Discussion was made by the experts from the Eternal Chaotic World. The experts from the Eternal Chaotic World started to take it seriously. Emperor Bai, do you know why I created a Blood Emperor Sanctuary grounds here? Do you know why I picked this place as the location for the final battle? Kaiser Blood said out loud. Emperor Bai widened his eyes as he exclaimed, was it because of this formation? Smart. Allow me to introduce this formation. This formation did not originate from the ancient past or the eternal chaotic world. I created this formation after over the years. I had never thought of a suitable name, but now I have one for it. It will be called Opposing Blood Formation. Kaiser Blood smiled. Opposing Blood Formation? Emperor Bai, Jian Wushuang, and the remaining experts finally understood the origins of the formation. It was no wonder they could not recognize his formation. It had been created by Kaiser Blood not too long ago, and it did not even have a name. However, They still did not know what the formation was used for. From the looks of it, it did not look good. Chapter 21, 70 Golden Armor Emperor Bai looked at the blood-red formation coldly and muttered, "I do not need to know what this formation does. All I have to do is destroy it." As soon as he finished speaking, an incredibly powerful aura started to erupt. At this moment, he took a step out. Boom! An endless ocean of golden divine power surged out and covered the entire sky. The battlefield turned into a large golden divine power sea. Emperor Bai was located at the center of this ocean as a 10,000-foot-tall golden shadow appeared behind him. The giant golden shadow hovering over the battlefield was majestic and made people feel dread when looking at it. Within moments, Emperor Bai appeared in front of the blood-red formation. He clenched his fist and harnessed the power of the endless divine power sea within his hands. "Haha, Emperor Bai, do you wish to destroy the formation? You'll have to pass me first." Kaiser Blood laughed as he blocked Emperor Bai before he could attack the formation. "I shall kill you first, then I will destroy the formation." Emperor Bai said in a dominant way. Emperor Bai punched his fist, which was encompassed in divine power, at Kaiser Blood. This punch immediately made a gigantic hole in the sky. The aura was so terrifying that the experts from the eternal chaotic world widened their eyes. As the most powerful man from the eternal chaotic world, how strong could Emperor Bai? They were seeing it with their own eyes. The aura really is terrifying. If that is the case, a flash of seriousness went across Kaiser Blood's eyes as he pointed with his finger. Instantly, a large amount of blood-red light surged as a giant statue of a divine demon appeared. This statue was even larger than the golden shadow behind Emperor Bai. It radiated an ancient aura. A few deep bell sounds were heard as the hands of the statues moved. One hand turned into a fist, while the other hand turned into a palm. The blood-red fist, which contained an enormous amount of power, dropped from the sky as it punched out. It felt like it could destroy everything in its way. The palm turned large as it covered the entire sky, including the divine power sea. The fighting power of Kaiser Blood was clearly seen there. In the air, Emperor Bai collided with the large statue head-on. Boom, 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 boom. 9 loud collisions were heard. Each of these collisions made the divine power and the blood-red energy explode outwards in all directions. These energies turned into a storm that strangled everything in its way. At the center of the storm, where the two men fought, the space turned into nothing. An area of void was formed. In that void, 2 figures stood tall. The aura of Emperor Bai was still overpowering. The golden light from the golden shadow became even brighter as the dense divine power sea surged even more. As for Kaiser Blood, his gigantic statue was much less intimidating compared to Emperor Bai. "You are worthy of being called the strongest man in the eternal chaotic world. I have already displayed the fighting power of a top-tier stage great emperor, but I still lost to you despite you having weaker understanding of rules of order. It must be because of your incredible inverse cultivation." Kaiser Blood smiled. Emperor Bai did not speak as he looked at the blood-red formation behind Kaiser Blood. During the short exchange of blows with Kaiser Blood, the aura that radiated out affected the formation. However, the formation was completely unaffected. It seemed like the formation could not be destroyed with just the aura emitted during a fight. "Emperor Bai, you must really want to destroy this formation. But you will not be able to do it. Even though I am weaker than you, I can still stop you from doing what you want." Kaiser Blood mocked. "Is that the case?" Emperor Bai raised his eyebrows. At that moment, the divine power sea started to collapse on itself and covered Emperor Bai. His body started to grow to 100 feet tall. His large body was surrounded by a thick layer of golden light. This golden light was like extraordinary golden armor. The moment it appeared, the overpowering aura Emperor Bai had started to skyrocket once again. Golden armor? This is the 9-star armor from one of the secret skills that the 7-star Black Sect had. You successfully cultivated this secret skill. Furthermore, you cultivated the golden armor scripture. Even Kaiser Blood was shocked when he saw the golden armor that Emperor Bai was wearing. He was originally an expert from the ancient past. He had participated in the great battle of the ancient past and was very knowledgeable about secret skills. On the ancient battlefield, there were countless experts. However, the main character of that battle was 7-star Black Sect. 7-star Black Sect had been one of the superpowers from back in the ancient past. This kind of superpowers had many extremely powerful secret skills. The secret skill of 7-star was a famous secret skill. This secret skill of 7-star was only one of most powerful secret skills the sect had. 9-star armor was another secret skill on par with secret skill of 7-star in terms of power level. It was one of the secret skills that could make the experts from the ancient past go crazy. It was a pity that this secret skill was incredibly valued by the leaders of the sect. Besides some core disciple, no one had the chance to learn it. There was no talk at all about this skill, as it was kept top secret. However, Emperor Bai had managed to successfully cultivate 9-star armor and reached the level of golden armor scripture, which was high level. Humph! I want to see if you can still stop me. Emperor Bai grunted as his battle power reached a whole new level. If his power level had been between stage 3 and stage 4 previously, his power level now was definitely of a stage 4 Great Emperor. Fight! Emperor Bai roared in anger as he continued the attack. No matter his aura or momentum, both reached an even higher level. Seeing this, Kaiser Blood turned pale. In the space not too far away, Lord Fen squinted his eyes before charging into the battlefield to assist Kaiser Blood. Chapter 2171 Rematch with Demon King Chen. Emperor Bai was in golden armor and stood there in the space in front of the blood-red formation. He had reached the fighting power of a stage 4 Great Emperor. He displayed his terrifying combat power and suppressed everything around. It was extremely difficult for Kaiser Blood to stop Emperor Bai alone, hence Lord Fen had stepped up to help him. Lord Fen was surrounded in a special aura, which allowed it to have peak stage 3 Great Emperor fighting power. It seemed that he had cast a secret skill, which allowed him to stop Emperor Bai together with Kaiser Blood. Even though Emperor Bai was powerful, he could not spare any attention to attack the opposing blood formation. The opposing blood formation was running slowly as its radius increased slowly. Jian Wushuang and everyone around noticed this. Emperor Bai was stopped. We need to find a way to stop the opposing blood formation. Ancestor Tian Chun said. Tian Chun, do you still have the Emperor token? Jian Wushuang asked. Emperor token? Ancestor Tian Chun was stunned. The Emperor token that contained the power of an attack by Emperor Bai? We used to just now to save some lives against the experts from 3 Emperors' world who went into the demonic state. We are only left with 1. Ancestor Tian Chun said. Pass me the last Emperor token. Jian Wushuang said. Roger. Ancestor Tian Chun nodded his head. The final Emperor token was passed to Jian Wushuang. Be careful. Ancestor Tian Chun warned. Yes, all of you should take this time to recover. Jian Wushuang said. Abysmal Saint Master, Ancestor Tian Chun, Underworld God, and the remaining experts nodded their heads. Even they as Great Emperors were severely injured after the self-destruction of the Great Emperors from the 3 Emperors' world. Even though they had already drunk elixirs, It was impossible to reach their peak again in a short period of time. However, their peak fighting power was not needed. All that was needed was their normal fighting power. There were more than 2,000 experts and several great emperors. A stage 3 great emperor also could not stop so many experts if they allied together. Jian Wushuang held the emperor token in his hand and felt the terrifying power inside. Jian Yi, let's go. Jian Wushuang moved. Jian Yi followed him closely. Both of them speeded forward. They were not headed to the battlefield. Emperor Bai, Kaiser Blood, and Lord Fin were in. They skirted the area and headed for the opposing blood formation. The opposing blood formation was their target. Even though Jian Wushuang did not know where the formation originated or its functions, he was becoming more and more uncertain as the opposing blood formation continued to run. No matter what, this opposing blood formation had to be destroyed. Right when Jian Wushuang moved, Demon King Chun, you rushed over immediately. Whoosh, whoosh, two figures burst forth. They were Demon King Chun Yu and Ba Su. Lung Rushue stood there motionless and was not moving. Jian Wushuang, if you want to destroy the formation, you will have to pass through me. Demon King Chun, you yelled as he attacked Jian Wushuang. Ba Su stared at Jian Wushuang with emotions raging through his eyes. He wanted to kill Jian Wushuang as badly as Demon King Chun you did. Jian Wushuang ordered Jian Yi to stop them immediately. Your opponent is me. Jian Yi stopped Ba Su in his tracks and said coldly, "A mere stage 2 great emperor's dares to stop me? Die." Ba Su yelled as he started his fight with Jian Yi. Jian Yi used all of his might to stop Ba Su. In terms of realm, he was at a disadvantage. Ba Su was a legitimate stage 3 great emperor. Even though he had barely made it into stage 3 and was not powerful compared to his peers, he was still much stronger than any stage 2 great emperor. On the other hand, Jian Yi was just a peak stage 2 great emperor. However, Jian Yi came from the ancient past and knew certain special techniques. He could not be compared to any stage 2 great emperors. Even though he was completely suppressed by Ba Su, if it was not possible to kill in within a short period of time, Jian Yi kept Ba Su occupied as Jian Wushuang focused his attention on Demon King Chun Yu. Jian Wushuang, you will not advance anymore since I am here. Demon King Chun Yu erupted in size as 8 arms grew out of his body. Each of his arms held a different type of divine weapon. What a joke! Jian Wushuang mocked Demon King Chun Yu. The first time he fought Demon King Chun Yu, Demon King Chun Yu was far stronger than him. All he could do was to run away. The second time they fought at the Heaven Repairing Palace, he was only at a slight disadvantage. He was slightly stronger than Demon King Chun Yu when they fought at the Imperial City for the 3rd time. But now, this was their 4th time. Jian Wushuang had managed to control the legitimate Hong Jun Golden Sword, and hence was even stronger than before. Furthermore, he no longer needed to hide certain techniques and could use them. Piss off! Jian Wushuang yelled as he cast Blast Rainstorm using his Blood Mountain Sword. As the sword light appeared, the 7 Hong Jun Golden swords burst forth at the same time. 7 golden beams flew incredibly quickly, and each had the power of an attack by a stage 3 great emperor. Demon King Chun, you swung one of his arms and just managed to block the sword lights. Right then, the 7 Hong Jun Golden sword appeared in front of him. Humph! Demon King Chun, you grunted as all of his arms swung the weapons they were holding outwards. Clang! 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 Following 7 loud collisions, the terrifying force pushed Demon King Chun Yu back. This brat, did the power of his Hong Jun Golden swords really get stronger? Demon King Chun knitted his eyebrows and thought. In the next moment, the 7 Hongjun golden swords which he had deflected away trembled in midair before they dashed towards him once again. The speed was the same as before. Damn it! Demon King Chun, you cursed. He knew about the power of the Hongjun golden swords. They were incredibly fast and powerful. He knew clearly that Jian Wushuang could beat him in a head-on fight just by using these 7 swords. Furthermore, Jian Wushuang possessed incredible close combat abilities and swordsmanship. Chapter 2172 Golden Light Scripture Whoosh. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. The 7 Hongjun golden sword turned into golden light and striked out at its target once more. Jian Wushuang fully used his sword principle combined with the terrifying speed and power of the Hongjun golden sword. This completely suppressed Demon King Chenyu. He tried his best to fight back, but realized he could not even take a breather as the 7 Hongjun golden sword attacked him over and over again. Jian Wushuang had a cold look. During the battle, he was paying close attention to the changes in Demon King Chenyu. About there, a flash of intense emotions flashed across Jian Wushuang's eyes. Immediately, he slashed out once again with his sword. Demon King Chun used a bat in one of his hands to block this sword. Right when he deflected the sword, he realized that Jian Wushuang's eyes had released an eerie light. Within Jian Wushuang's body, the soul-swallowing pearl that he had refined long ago started to churn crazily. A surging soul power gathered and was amplified by the soul-swallowing pearl before it burst forth towards Demon King Chenyu. All he saw was a bolt of golden light flying towards him. This flash of golden light was not made of Hongjun golden sword. It was the result of Jian Wushuang channeling his soul power to cast a soul attack secret skill. Jian Wushuang used the soul attack secret skill he had received from Emperor God Zhu Xian. 3 divine lights. 3 divine lights was separated into 3 scriptures: golden light scripture, foggy light scripture, and nether light scripture. Jian Wushuang cast a single target secret skill from the golden light scripture. This beam of golden light was too fast and originated too close to Demon King Chenyu. Even Demon King Chun, you found it difficult to react to the attack. By the time he reacted, the golden light had entered his body. This is soul attack. Demon King Chun, you turned pale. He never knew that Jian Wushuang could cast soul attack. This was normal. Ever since Jian Wushuang became an almighty, he had never casted any soul attack. Even after his soul power had skyrocketed after refining the soul-swallowing pearl and obtaining powerful soul attack secret skill, he had hidden it carefully. It was because a soul attack at the great emperor level could turn the tide of any battle. Jian Wushuang had planned to cast his soul attack secret skill on the masses and kill many of the experts from the 3 emperors' world in order to gain an advantage for his own forces. He had not expected that the experts from the 3 emperors' world would enter the demonic state and start killing everything around them crazily. His soul attack had no use at all. Now that all of the ordinary almighty from the 3 emperors' world and great emperors were dead, there was no longer the need for him to hide his soul attack secret skill anymore. Hence, he cast it straight away. Back when Jian Wushuang had been refining the soul-swallowing pearl, his soul power had skyrocketed and reached the peak of a stage 1 great emperor. He could even threaten stage 2 great emperors with his soul attacks alone. After he returned to Sanctuary Alliance, he had continued to take in different types of elixir and other treasures, allowing his soul power to reach the level of a stage 2 great emperor. His soul attack now was completely unmatched. Is that a holy object? At the same time that Jian Wushuang cast his soul attack, Basu was shocked before turning devious. Bastard! This Brett managed to refine the holy object? How is this possible? How can he refine the holy object in such a short amount of time? Ba Su looked at Jian Wushuang incredulously. The soul attack Jian Wushuang had cast contained the aura of the soul-swallowing pearl that had originated from the sky-swallowing clan. Under the sudden intrusion by the golden light, Demon King Chun, you found it extremely difficult to defend against the soul attack. He stopped in midair and trembled. His face was twisted with excruciating pain. Jian Wushuang took this chance and headed towards the opposing blood formation. Demon King Chun, you could not stop him this time. This formation poses a great threat to the forces of the eternal chaotic world. Let me destroy it. Jian Wushuang thought as a terrifying sword essence was felt. This sword essence was utmost and utmost. Right then, he morphed into an emperor. He held the emperor's sword. Instantly, sword light rained down on the formation. Emperor sword principle, second style. Boom. The terrifying sword light struck the blood-red formation under the clear view of the experts from the eternal chaotic world. Immediately, the large amounts of sword light collided with the formation and tried to twist it into powder. Moments later, the sword light dissipated. When everyone looked over again, they realized the formation had merely stopped running for a moment before continuing expanding. My attacks are useless? Jian Wushuang squinted his eyes, unsurprised. This opposing blood formation had taken Kaiser blood a very long time to create. He had sacrificed the lives of many experts just to get the formation running. When it finally started to run, he knew it would be extremely difficult to stop the formation. Jian Wushuang took a step forward and shattered the Emperor's token in his hands. Once the Emperor token shattered, the limitless energy burst forth towards the formation under the guidance of Jian Wushuang. Boom. It felt like the world was ending. The terrifying power impacted the opposing blood formation continuously. The aura was many times stronger than the second style of Emperor Sword Principle. Emperor Token had been handmade by Emperor Bai. The power within the Emperor Token was equivalent to one attack by Emperor Token. An attack by Emperor Bai was clearly much stronger than an attack by Jian Wushuang. The aura continued to spread in all directions. Around the battlefield, the experts from the eternal chaotic world, including Jian Wushuang himself, stared into the blood-red formation. Everyone had hope in their hearts. Will this formation be destroyed? Jian Wushuang thought grimly. Hum. A long hum was heard as the aura and divine power dissipated, and everyone could see the space once again. In space, the opposing blood formation was still running. It seemed that an attack from Emperor Bai had not managed to disrupt the running of this formation. Chapter 2173 Blood Red. It failed. Looking at the perfectly running formation, the experts from the eternal chaotic world fell silent. Jian Wushuang also knitted his eyebrows and did not want to believe what he was seeing. Right then, Jian Wushuang. A loud yell came from the surrounding space. It was Demon King Chenyu, who had managed to break free from the soul attack and appeared behind Jian Wushuang. Demon King Chenyu's eyes were burning with anger as he roared at Jian Wushuang. Brat, if it weren't for the restrictions this heaven and earth has on my soul power, do you think your soul attack could affect me? He was one of the remaining experts from the ancient past. His realm was far above the chaotic realm. However, due to the restrictions the heaven and earth had, his power had been restricted to that of an ordinary peak great emperor. The restrictions this heaven and earth had was not just on power. It also had restrictions on the soul power and holy body. This was why Emperor Bai could hurt him and Jian Wushuang could affect him with his soul attack. If he had been at his prime, Emperor Bai and Jian Wushuang could not have done any harm to him even if he just stood there. Demon King Chun, you stared at Jian Wushuang angrily. while the latter did not even bother to look at him. Jian Wushuang was still staring at the opposing blood formation. Even the attack from Emperor Bai himself could not affect this opposing blood formation. The only way possible to destroy this formation was to allow Emperor Bai to attack this formation with full force without any distractions. However, Emperor Bai was preoccupied by Kaiser Blood and Lord Fun. He cannot focus on the formation. If I use that move, I might be able to destroy the formation. But that move, Jian Wushuang thought grimly. He had several trump cards. One of the trump cards was the secret skills of Star Palace. He had managed to cultivate the third scroll of secret skills of Star Palace. He could make his attacks 1,000 times stronger. With his current power level, he could destroy the formation if he used the secret skills of Star Palace and Emperor Sword Principle, as this would enable his attacks to be even more powerful than those of Emperor Bai. However, he had just used secret skills of Star Palace not too long ago. He had used the secret skill back at the Imperial City within the Three Emperors world. That was about 100 years ago. It was not easy to cast secret skills of Star Palace, especially the third scroll. He needed 1,000 years before he could cast the same secret skill again. Within the short 100 years, he had yet to recover much star power. Hence was unable to use this secret skill. Hence, this was not a possibility anymore. On the other side of the battlefield, Emperor Bai, Kaiser Blood, and Lord Fun stopped fighting. Kaiser Blood and Lord Fun were not in good condition. On the other hand, Emperor Bai was still ready to go. Jian Wushuang? This brat really has many trump cards. He has already displayed many techniques and skills. I never thought he would still have the soul attack trick up his sleeve. Even Demon King Chen, you could not fend it off in a short amount of time. Kaiser Blood turned and looked at Jian Wushuang. Luckily, the opposing blood formation absorbed so much blood qi from the experts that it became very sturdy. He does not possess the ability and power to destroy the formation. He almost ruined my plan. Emperor Bai looked dark. He kept everything Jian Wushuang did in mind. Jian Wushuang had done everything almost perfectly. He had cast Soul Attack at the right time and created a chance for him to attack the opposing blood formation. However, when he saw that the attack from the Emperor token he had created causing no damage to the formation, his heart sank. Kaiser Blood, what are you trying to do? Emperor Bai yelled. Do you want to know? Very well, I shall let you see. The formation is about ready. Time to start. Kaiser Blood laughed coldly. It's starting. Lord Lung and Demon King Chen, you looked excited. Ha ha. Opposing blood formation. Start. Kaiser Blood laughed as his voice reverberated through the battlefield. Under his guidance, the formation started to rise and float towards the sky above. Seeing this, Jian Wushuang's heart sank as he felt even more uncertain of what was about to happen. Sadly, he could not do anything about it. There was no way he could stop the opposing blood formation. Even Emperor Bai was helpless in this situation. Emperor Bai had already attacked, but Kaiser Blood and Lord Fun stopped him together. The experts from the eternal chaotic world were all weak and had almost no fighting power in them. All they could do was watch the opposing blood formation rise up into the sky. Finally, the opposing blood formation reached the top of the sky. Within moments, it fused with the sky. This formation fused with heaven and earth. The experts were all confused. Jian Wushuang knitted his eyebrows tightly. When he used his mountain river map, it was too fused with heaven and earth. However, this formation was completely different from the mountain river map. After this opposing blood formation fused into the heaven and earth, it completely disappeared, only leaving a small blood-red vortex in the middle of the sky. Just when everyone was confused, from the small vortex, a surging blood-red light swept out in all directions. This blood-red light was like an endless river as it spread out in all directions. Within moments, the entire sky of the Blood Emperor Sanctuary grounds was completely covered, but the spreading did not stop. This was not the end. In fact, this was just the beginning. The blood-red river did not face any obstructions as it spread to all the territories and regions outside of the Blood Emperor Sanctuary ground. 3 Emperors World, 12 states, 84 God Mansion, and 3,300 territories. How far and wide could it spread? As the river spread, every single territory, region, and state was covered by it. Within moments, this river filled every corner of the 3 Emperors world. The entire 3 Emperors world turned blood red. Chapter 2174 Frenzy Under the Crimson Lie. The sudden change of events rocked the entire 3 Emperors world. What is happening? The sky turned red. Crimson light covers the sky. This is not a good sign. Countless 3 Emperors world cultivators looked up towards the sky. The sky was completely blanketed in a layer of crimson light, as if it were wearing a red robe. The crimson light was extremely seductive as well within the Blood Emperor Sanctuary grounds. The chap's crimson light covered the entire 3 Emperors world. What is this Kaiser Blood thinking? Ancestor Tian Chun said, the eternal chaotic world army had purged a bulk of the 3 Emperors world, but many of their experts remained to watch what had happened. He knew firsthand about the crimson light covering the entire 3 Emperors world. Emperor Bai and Jian Wushuang's faces were darkened at the sight of it. They were increasingly uneasy. For that Kaiser Blood, with that devious smile of his, no one knew what he was thinking. "Ha! The slaughter commences," Kaiser Blood said coldly. Emperor Bai and Jian Wushuang's face darkened. The two of them looked around their surroundings, but did not notice any difference. But somewhere within the 3 Emperors' world, at a village deep in the mountains of a normal domain, a braided girl, aged around 11 or 12, was staring at the sky above her. "Daddy, look, the sky changed color. It changed color," the little girl said. A plain-robed, middle-aged man walked out of the hut behind the girl, puzzled by what she was looking at. "What is this?" the middle-aged man murmured. His gaze started to change. At that moment, the girl beside him turned and bit the man's torso. The middle-aged man could not avoid it. A chunk of his flesh was bitten off. "Honger, what are you doing?" the middle-aged man shouted in pain. And then he realized his daughter's face was completely twisted. Her bright eyes were no more, for they had turned bloodshot, full of mania. She pounced on the middle-aged man, once again, as if she had lost her mind. The middle-aged man's pupils were turning crimson red as well. Not long after, the man started fighting to the death with his daughter. Soon, he had killed the girl with his own bare hands. Afterwards, the frenzied man pounced on others. He had lost his mind, and it was not just him. The entire village had lost their minds. They were slaughtering each other. They had completely lost their sanity, slaughtering everyone at sight. The once peaceful village was now bleeding. At another prosperous domain, the domain contained many, many families. The strongest of them was the Duanmu family. The Duanmu family had many experts, almost 20 chaotic realm experts. But as the battle between the eternal chaotic world erupted, the chaotic realm experts had all lost. All that remained were the real gods and sector gods. Even the chaotic real gods were gone due to the eternal chaotic world's raid. The experts of most families were now generally eternal real gods. Despite that, the Duanmu family was still regarded as the king of the domain. At that very moment, the real gods of the Duanmu family had gathered to watch the sky above. "Something's wrong," the purple-robed elder murmured. The purple-robed elder was a pinnacle, eternal, real god, now considered the strongest within the family. Not the sky. Something's wrong with that crimson light. Another eternal, real god beside him murmured. Suddenly, "My lord! My lord!" A panicked void, real god, rushed over. The void, real god's eyes were bloodshot. "What happened?" The purple-robed elder frowned. "My lord, the clan is in a mess. The disciples have started slaughtering one another. Many of them are already dead," the void, real god said. "What?" The purple-robed elder and others were taken aback. "Come, let's go see," he said. But by the time the purple-robed elder reached the scene, he drew a cold breath. Duanmu family was in a bloodbath. Countless disciples, including the servants, were engaged in the slaughter. The slaughter saw no friend nor foe. Everyone was simply killing one another. There were several Duanmu disciples that charged towards them as well. "They've all gone mad," the purple-robed elder was bawling. His eyes were turning red as well. At that moment, the void, real god that had delivered the message had turned as well. Without hesitation, he charged towards the elder. Damn it! The purple-robed elder had made his move as well. As the Duanmu family real gods entered the battle, the slaughter only turned more intense. All the Duanmu family real gods had fallen, including the purple-robed elder. They were surrounded by endless slaughter. It did not just happen to the Duanmu family, but every single corner of the Three Emperors' world. The crimson light covered the entire Three Emperors' world. Under the crimson light, every single domain and cultivator under the Three Emperors' world had lost their sanity and joined in the slaughter. The crimson light was glaring, which made it even more attractive. The Three Emperors' world, under the crimson light, had instantly turned into a hell on earth. Chapter 2175 Hell on Earth. Insane. They have lost their minds. The Three Emperors' world people have all lost it, killing everyone in sight. There are so many dead. Countless cultivators in my city have slaughtered each other. All are dead. The messages were being sent to Jian Wushuang and Emperor Bai as soon as they could. With the crimson light covering the Three Emperors' world, countless cultivators, real god or sector god, could not resist it. Being powerful simply slowed the time of transformation. But the crimson light barely affected the Almighties, and the Almighties of the Three Emperors' world were not affected either. But they saw what the Three Emperors' world experts had done. Assholes! Emperor Bai shouted. Worse than dogs. Jian Wushuang had his eyes dead on Kaiser blood. He had never wanted to kill another so badly in his life. He had already witnessed Kaiser blood sacrificing all those experts for his own personal objective, activating the opposing blood formation. That alone disgusted Jian Wushuang and the others. But what Kaiser blood was doing outdid everything else. Previously, he was only targeting the chaotic realm and above experts. But now Kaiser blood's claws have stretched to all the cultivators within the Three Emperors' world. Most of them were weak, innocent cultivators. But there were millions and millions of them. Amongst the normal cultivators were newly born infants and strong-willed youths. Even Jian Wushuang treated the enemy with mercy, only taking out the high-level experts of the Three Emperors' world. The eternal chaotic world had no intention of attacking anyone below chaotic real God. Even the enemies treated them with mercy. But as the leader of the Three Emperors' world, Kaiser Blood's actions had sincerely enraged Jian Wushuang and the others. With the crimson light covering the Three Emperors' world, countless cultivators were slaughtering each other. The Three Emperors' world had turned into a hell on earth. Such demonic measures. If I took down Kaiser Blood now, would the formation stop? Jian Wushuang asked. No way. Emperor Bai shook his head. The formation is already in place. the cultivators have all turned into demons. Even if we took down Kaiser Blood now, there would be no way to save the cultivators anymore. Nothing would change, even if the formation stopped. Furthermore, it was easier said than done, taking down Kaiser Blood. If Emperor Bai could have, he would have done it already. If I had destroyed the opposing blood formation earlier, Jian Wushuang's face sunk in despair. He had tried his best, but despite all efforts, he had failed. Emperor Bai took a deep breath, but he was much calmer than Jian Wushuang. Emperor Bai was an expert from the First Era. He had seen much worse than Jian Wushuang. He had witnessed too many disasters in his lifetime. When the First Era collapsed, countless cultivators fell. That was much scarier than what was happening in the Three Emperors' world. Emperor Bai had seen it all. Even though he felt pity for what was happening in the Three Emperors' world, it was no more than that. In front, Kaiser Blood, Lord Fun, Demon King Chenyu, Lung Rushua, and Ba Su stood side by side. Amongst the five, Kaiser Blood, Lord Fun, and Demon King Chen, you had no pity for the cultivators of the Three Emperors' world at all. Lung Rushua had that wicked smile on her face still. Ba Su was petrified, however, and he even regretted joining the Three Emperors' world forces at that moment. Even though the Three Emperors' world made him more powerful, the things Kaiser Blood and the rest had done scared him. Kaiser Blood, how is the progress? Lord Fun asked casually. It is going as expected. No cultivator below Chaotic Realm can resist it, and have all started slaughtering each other. The more they slaughter, the more blood chi they offer to me. About 30% of the cultivators have died already. Kaiser Blood was smiling deviously, as if the 30% were no more than ants to him. 30%. How's the blood chi? Then Lord Fun followed. Not bad. Once they all die, the blood chi should be enough, Kaiser Blood said. The opposing blood formation was a sinister formation he had spent ages crafting. The energy source of the formation was boundless blood chi. How had he gained it? From the endless slaughter of others. When the cultivators of the Three Emperors' world self-destructed, the blood chi he gained from them helped him to get the formation working. But that was only the beginning. If Kaiser Blood wanted to truly activate the formation, he needed much more blood chi. That was how the Crimson Light had started to cover the entire Three Emperors' world. The endless slaughter brought boundless blood chi for the formation. 40%, Kaiser Blood said. That was only a moment after. It only took a moment of time to turn from 30 to 40%. How many millions of cultivators had died in that instant? How terrifying was that? That speed. Die. Only one word came from his mouth. So much rage and anger could be felt from within his sentence. Kill them all. Jian Wushuang was equally pumped up. They could not stop the formation, but they would not stand back. Chapter 2176, A Little More. Another great battle had begun. The battle was not only fought by Jian Wushuang, Emperor Bai, and Jian Yi. After composing themselves, the Eternal Chaotic World experts used all methods they knew. Everyone linked up and swore to kill the Three Emperors' world leaders. Kaiser Blood and the others naturally resisted to the best of their abilities. But even as the battle began, the opposing blood formation could not be shut down. 50%, 60%, 70%. Kaiser Blood smiled. He was consistently mentioning it as he fought Emperor Bai. Every time he spoke, the faces of Jian Wushuang and others darkened. An hour passed. Within the hour, Emperor Bai tried to attack the void above, straight for the formation's core, where the crimson spiral was. Unfortunately, he was unable to slow it down. One leader of the Three Emperors' world, Lung Rushua, stood from afar. They did not fight back. Lord Fun, Demon King Chenyu and Ba Su were severely wounded under the combined attack of Emperor Bai, Jian Wushuang, Abysmal Saint Master, Underworld God, and others, especially Lord Fun. He had already used up special methods in order to activate his pinnacle third stage fighting power. Now, Emperor Bai found an opportunity to hit him hard, and he ended up severely wounded. Kaiser Blood was suppressed by Emperor Bai, but was not truly injured. Kaiser Blood, is it not done? Lord Fun shouted. He was at his limit. If it were to drag on any longer, he could be wiped out by Emperor Bai. It is done. All life should be wiped out, except for the chaotic realm experts. Kaiser Blood smiled. His smile was like a light breeze, but everyone around him was completely shocked. Dead. Everything. Jian Wushuang murmured. He was trembling. His days of cultivating had not been long, and he had not witnessed many destructive scenes. Even though the Dark Millstone had crushed countless nations and cultivators of the Three Emperors' world back then, Jian Wushuang had not seen it for himself. It was through a projected image. But this time, although he had not witnessed the slaughters with his own eyes, he felt it personally. It lasted for almost an hour. Countless cultivators of the Three Emperors' world died in suffering. Jian Wushuang could not accept it, yet the Three Emperors' world leaders were elated. All dead. What about the formation's blood qi? How's that going? Lord Fun, Demon King Chenyu, and Ba Su were beside Kaiser Blood. Lord Fun and Demon King Chen, you were waiting with anticipation. A pity, the blood qi, less than what we had expected, Kaiser Blood said. Less. Lord Fen's face changed. What then? We have killed almost all creatures in the Three Emperors' world. The only way to obtain more blood qi is to take down those eternal chaotic world experts. But from the looks of it, it'll be tough. Demon King Chenyu frowned. They were already at a disadvantage. At that juncture, it was almost impossible to bring any more harm to the eternal chaotic world experts. It's hard, so what I am about to do may put you all on the spot, Kaiser Blood said suddenly. Lord Fun froze, and his pupils shrank sharply. Before Demon King Chenyu and Ba Su could react, the two divine beasts were already on those two bloody palms. Those two bloody palms smacked Demon King Chenyu and Ba Su directly on their foreheads. Their abilities were far inferior to those of the Kaiser Blood, and they had sustained severe injuries and were not prepared at all. Pung, pung. Two groans rose at the same time. Their heads were shattered by the shock without a trace of struggle, and soon turned quiet. Lord Fun, realizing what he had seen, rushed to the void beside. Haha, trying to escape? No way. Kaiser Blood laughed. And those bloody palms came for Lord Fun. Kaiser Blood, you... Lord Fen's face changed. He had never expected Kaiser Blood to do something to them. Sacrificing their lives for more blood qi, Lord Fun struggled at the sight of the palm. But after an hour of fighting, Lord Fen's aura was the weakest. Kaiser Blood used everything he had with his endless blood power against Lord Fen, binding him. Lord Fen had no chance of escape. No. A hysterical growl came from Lord Fen. Lord Fen struggled in despair, eyes fixated on Kaiser Blood. In the end, he was killed ruthlessly by Kaiser Blood. In the blink of an eye, Lord Fun, Demon King Chenyu, and Ba Su were all dead. They were all third-stage Great Emperors. Naturally, their blood qi was richer. The blood qi had been completely absorbed. This Jian Wushuang and Emperor Bai watched everything in horror. They had never expected Kaiser Blood to be that ruthless. After sacrificing all their experts from all over the Three Emperors' world, had he killed his own fellow leaders for more blood qi? Ba Su meant the least to him amongst the three. But Lord Fun and Demon King Chen, you had followed him from the ancient era all the way. They were his companions. But in order to fully accumulate the blood qi needed, He had killed his companions ruthlessly. Lunatic! Emperor Bai raged. Oh no! Jian Wushuang's face changed. There was one more leader of the three emperors' world who Kaiser Blood had not laid his hands on yet. It was Long Rushua. Now, after cutting down Lord Fun, Demon King Qinyu, and Ba Su, he appeared in front of Long Rushua. Chapter 21, 77 Blood Emperor Long Rushua stood silently at the edge of the battlefield. She had yet to make her move since the battle had begun. After Kaiser Blood slayed Lord Fun, Demon King Qinyu, and Ba Su, he was heading for her. Lung Ruksha's face darkened, but showed no sign of retreat. Xiao! Kaiser Blood appeared in front of Lung Rushua, his crimson eyes staring straight through her. You intend to take me as well, Lord Kaiser Blood? Lung Ruksha's voice was indifferent as she raised her head. As she raised her head, a special mark appeared between her brows. Her pupils turned white, with no trace of blood. Her long black hair turned white in an instant, swaying with the wind. She gave off an unprecedentedly destructive aura. The aura was so strong even Jian Wushuang, and Emperor Bai from afar could not help but be startled by it. This is... Jian Wushuang frowned. It was the first time he had seen Lung Rushua in that form. White-haired, gray-eyed, the power to destroy heavens. The unique situation was scarier than when Lung Rushwang took over that body and released the sins of its past life. Kaiser Blood twitched at the sight of Lung Rukshu's gray pupils. Fear could be seen in Kaiser Blood for the first time. The heavenly body is indeed a quality worthy of both envy and detest. Rest assured, I will not attack you for the sake of your backing. I do not have a death wish, and I have enough opposing blood chi for my opposing blood formation anyway. Kaiser Blood smiled lightly. One could not tell if he was telling the truth or not. Lung Rushua gave a cold glance to Kaiser Blood and said nothing. Girl, step aside. I am unable to guarantee your safety if you happen to be within my area of attack. Kaiser Blood. Lung Rushua waved her robe, and just like that her devastating aura was nowhere to be sensed. She was now in a further void, with no intention of meddling in the upcoming formation. Kaiser Blood turned around and looked towards Emperor Bai and Jian Wushuang. After years of thoughtful planning, have I finally reached the last step? Kaiser Blood murmured, but did not conceal his thoughts. Hearing that, Emperor Bai and Jian Wushuang's faces darkened. They knew that the three emperors' world had spent years preparing. The war had been ignited upon discovery of it by the eternal chaotic world. The battle had already sacrificed all the experts under him, even killing his own comrades. He had to have a motive. Was the motive finally about to be revealed? My body no longer serves its purpose at this stage. Let me show you the real me. Kaiser Blood chuckled as his body turned increasingly transparent, turning into nothingness. The eternal chaotic world experts were all shocked. Disappeared. Kaiser Blood's gone. What's happening? Everyone was confused. Yet, at that moment, boom, the earth trembled fiercely, leading to a huge fissure in the already horrendous ground. The fissure seemed to be ripped open by hand and widened at an alarming rate. Instantly, it became a huge gully. Below the gully, a terrifying aura was gradually awakening. This is Jian Wushuang and Emperor Bai's faces changed. Even they could feel how terrifying the aura was. Soon, a figure stepped out of the gully and emerged above the void. I am restored. After so many years, finally, ha ha ha. His frenzied laughter was like rolling thunder. The laughter contained an endless violent aura that alone made countless eternal chaotic world experts tremble from within. Jian Wushuang and Emperor Bai had their eyes dead on Lord Fun. He was 3 meters long and had scarlet skin all over like a human-shaped blood figure. The blood human had well-defined muscles and was exuding endless violent aura. He had a human skull, but with unique black tattoos all over him. He looked extremely terrifying. The tattoos, the figure, it's a Blood Clan expert. Emperor Bai's pupils narrowed. Blood Clan? Jian Wushuang asked. By that moment, Jian Wushuang had already learnt quite a bit regarding the ancient events. The ancient era had countless experts. Like 7-Star Black Sect, he was a superpower of his time. 7-Star Black Sect status in the ancient era is equivalent to ancient god clan amongst the special tribes. But there were many other forces to be reckoned with other than 7-Star Black Sect. For example, the 3 big holy lands for big holy tribes and 8 big holy sects that collaborated to attack 7-Star Black Sect were impressive forces as well. Jian Wushuang had heard of the Blood Clan from Jian Yi. It was part of the 4 big holy tribes, alongside the ancient clan. They had crowned the 4 big holy tribes for their unique and horrifying bloodline power. Jian Wushuang himself understood how strong bloodline power could be, but he had only inherited the bloodline. There were many skills he could not perform. But even relying solely on the power generated by the bloodline power, he had seen a great improvement in his powers. In front of Jian Wushuang was the real deal, a Blood Clan expert. You are Kaiser Blood. Emperor Bai stared at the Blood Clan expert. The Blood Clan expert calmed himself down and glared at Emperor Bai. Kaiser Blood? No, I am the Blood Emperor, ruler of the Blood Clan. Kaiser Blood was simply a figment of my consciousness. Consciousness embodiment. Indeed it is, Emperor Bai mumbled, but he was not surprised. Chapter 2178, Chaotic Divine Demon. Although easily guessed, Emperor Bai and Jian Wushuang's faces were still extremely dark. Blood Emperor, the Emperor of the Blood Clan. His status alone was proof of his capabilities. Although Jian Wushuang knew there was more than one Blood Emperor, and he may not have been the strongest back in the ancient era, but without a doubt, he was one of the top experts. It could be easily identified by his consciousness embodiment. If even his consciousness embodiment was so strong, one could only imagine his true capabilities. Blood Emperor, you sacrificed so many people for you to wake up. Emperor Bai looked Blood Emperor dead in the eye. That's right, Blood Emperor smiled. The battle back then was too intense. I was too weak to carry on. So I slept, and with everything I could, I conjured a consciousness embodiment for him to help me awaken once more. For the people that I sacrificed, no more than a group of ants. Not just the normal cultivators. Even Lord Fun and Demon King Chen, you are only ants. Their biggest accomplishment was dying for me. Ants. Jian Wushuang's face darkened. Do you think you are any better? Emperor Bai said coldly. Blood Emperor, so what if you have awakened? Do not forget, you are no longer in the ancient era. Your powers are capped at chaotic levels. Here, I am the ruler. Emperor Bai's voice was cold and with endless authority. As he finished, Emperor Bai made his move. Hung Long Long. The shiny golden armor was still on him, and the golden shadow behind him seemed more aggressive. As Emperor Bai took his first step, he appeared in front of Blood Emperor and clenched his fist. The void in his palm burst and spread at an alarming rate. In an instant, the void became a spider web spreading across miles, making space rifts everywhere. The explosive power in Emperor Bai's hand, with the help of the Amor, burst immediately like a volcano. Emperor Bai, the strongest of the era, he had demonstrated everything he could, but the Blood Emperor simply smiled indifferently at the sight of Emperor Bei's punch. There was a hint of contempt. He did not even move. He stretched out his right hand. No, it was just a finger. The finger did not perform any secret skill. It just pointed forward casually. Under the gaze of countless experts around, the crimson finger collided with Emperor Bei's fist. Boom, a low voice resonated, spreading divine power in all directions. At the very core of the battlefield, under the gaze of countless experts, the finger and fist collided. Emperor Bei's power was enough to turn any opponent to despair. But the fist was casually blocked by the Blood Emperor's single finger. Despite having that much power, the Blood Emperor did not move at all. Not even his finger. How could that be? The surrounding experts gasped in disbelief. Even Emperor by himself was stunned. The Blood Emperor laughed sinisterly. Amid the laughter, a large crimson fog charged towards Emperor Bai. The mist covered everything, instantly surrounding Emperor Bai. In the crimson fog, a crimson palm appeared. The crimson palm seemed to have torn through the void, arriving directly from the ancient era. The moment it appeared, the experts around glared at it in horror. That power. Even Jian Wushuang was surprised. He could tell that the crimson palm had completely overpowered great emperors. That level of power, no great emperor could ever possess it. Pung! The crimson palm went head-on with Emperor Bei's fist. HNGH. Emperor Bai let out a hum. Blood was streaming from the corner of his lips, himself being forced to retreat. After regaining his footing, Emperor Bai stood up once again, his aura returning to pinnacle levels. Interesting, I obviously did damage to you, but you managed to recover almost instantly. I'm getting more and more curious about your inverse cultivation. Blood Emperor laughed casually. Inverse cultivation allowed one to reach perfect chaotic holy body once the seventh step had been achieved. As long as there was divine power, they could recover instantly using divine power, regardless of the severity of injury. That was the power of inverse cultivation. Your powers, Emperor Bai started at the Blood Emperor, Jian Wushuang, and all the experts of the eternal chaotic world stared at the Blood Emperor. You must be confused. How do I perform powers beyond chaotic realm levels despite the restrictions on this grounds? The Blood Emperor laughed sinisterly, looking at Emperor Bai, Jian Wushuang, and the rest. It was like a cat playing with a mouse. Is it due to that opposing blood formation? Jian Wushuang said. Ha! Smart. Blood Emperor smiled. You really thought the opposing blood formation I spent so many years preparing for was only to wake me up? You underestimate me. The true usefulness of the formation is for me to override the restrictions. Even though the formation has only covered the three emperors' world, and the blood chi only helps to control the restrictions by a bit, it already gives me that little bit of leverage I need against you. Now, I am not at peak chaotic realm levels. I am the chaotic divine demon. Chaotic divine demon. Those simple words were enough to shock Emperor Bai, Jian Wushuang, and others who realized what that meant. In the ancient era, there were so many experts of chaotic realm levels, they were not really considered experts. At the pinnacle ancient era, there were many experts beyond chaotic realm levels. Above it was the chaotic divine demon. Chapter 21, 79 Power Suffocates. A chaotic divine demon. Emperor Bai watched Blood Emperor, his face cloudy and uncertain. As the strongest expert in that era, he knew the most about the ancient era. So he was well aware of the almost insurmountable gap between the chaotic divine demon and the chaotic realm. If it was a normal chaotic divine demon, Emperor Bai could have fought it out with his seventh step inverse cultivation and other tricks up his sleeve. But Blood Emperor was the strongest of his ancient era. The fact that he could still exert chaotic divine demon level powers meant that he should have been pretty formidable amongst other chaotic divine demons. the opposing blood formation, the Blood Emperor can override the restrictions? Crap. Emperor Bai was in despair. The Blood Emperor teased and said, chaotic divine demon levels are nothing when compared to my full power, but it's more than enough to eradicate all of you. Next up, I'm going to kill you all one by one and find a way to get my formation to cover your eternal chaotic world and kill every single cultivator there is. With that level of blood chi, I should be able to restore my true powers. They could not help but recall the scene of the death of countless 3 Emperor's World cultivators. If that happened at the eternal chaotic world, asshole. Emperor Bai's eyes were bloodshot. He must die, regardless of the cost. Jian Wushuang was determined. Ha! It is you all that will die. Blood Emperor laughed heartily and made his move. Before he had simply stood there countering Emperor Bai's attack, and even that had hurt Emperor Bai. But now, the Blood Emperor had taken the initiative. He was like a ghost, disappearing in front of the eyes of many. Even Jian Wushuang and Emperor Bai could not find him with their sole power. The next moment, Blood Emperor reappeared, but he was not going for Emperor Bai. He was going for Jian Wushuang. He appeared right in front of Jian Wushuang. You sabotaged so many of my plans previously. You will be the first to die. Blood Emperor looked at Jian Wushuang coldly. Watch out! Emperor Bai hurriedly roared. Jian Wushuang's face sunk, and immediately large amounts of divine power could be seen emerging from him. Xiao! 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 7 golden streaks burst out and went straight for the Blood Emperor. Hongjun golden swords. If you perform the second form, perhaps that would pose a threat, but only the first form? Only 7 streaks. That's nothing. The Blood Emperor dismissively waved his finger. The 7 Hongjun golden swords seemed to be devastated simultaneously and flew out at faster speeds. Even the golden shimmer on the swords faded. Soon, a boundless crimson fog swept directly from the Blood Emperor and surrounded Jian Wushuang. Within the crimson fog, streaks of red flowing light came from nowhere and flew straight towards Jian Wushuang like spikes. The dense red flowing light was amazingly fast. Jian Wushuang waved his Blood Mountain sword and performed his mixed elements spirit swordsmanship in a desperate attempt to resist. But he could only block some of it. Others struck his divine body directly. His body had the 5-gem armor and immemorial celestial body protecting him. Normal attacks, even from a 3rd-stage Great Emperor, would not create much damage. But the streaks of red blood-like flowing light, each streak of light containing the power of a peak 3rd-stage Great Emperor, was too much for Jian Wushuang. At least 100 streaks of light hit him directly. Even Jian Wushuang could not resist. Instantly, Jian Wushuang's divine body started to collapse. The crimson fog covering Jian Wushuang dissipated as well. The many eternal chaotic world experts all stared at the void in horror. The void was empty. No one was there anymore. Only some divine power, aura, remained. Sword Emperor, is he dead? How is that possible? All the eternal chaotic world experts could not believe their eyes. The Sword Emperor was second to Emperor Bai in the eternal chaotic world. Jian Wushuang was a legend to them. His growth and rise were astonishing. The previous clashes with the 3 Emperors' world had all been blocked by Jian Wushuang. Their respect and fear for Jian Wushuang were no less than Emperor Bai. Such an existence was instantly wiped out by the Blood Emperor. That level of strength was simply suffocating. But was Jian Wushuang really dead? Something's not right. An exclamation was made by someone. They immediately looked towards the void. The originally empty void now had a large concentration of divine power within it. In a moment, that figure appeared again in front of everyone. It was Jian Wushuang. His body reformed once again, his aura still intact. Xiao, once he had finished reforming, he immediately retreated, getting some distance from the Blood Emperor. This Blood Emperor is so strong. Even Jian Wushuang had a trace of a tremor in his heart at that moment. He was indeed too strong, simply suffocating. Even with his divine body, he had been obliterated in an instant without any room for struggle. Even though he had managed to recover with the help of his perfect chaotic holy body, he had already consumed 30% of his divine power. Reaching the second part of his 7th step inverse cultivation had allowed his divine powers to be stronger than ever before. Even if his body collapsed in an attack, his divine power would sustain him for about 7 or 8 recoveries. But being struck by the Blood Emperor had cost him 30% of his divine power. Meaning to say, his divine body could only last 2 more hits. Of course, he still had the 7 treasure divine elixir emperor bypassed to him. He had not found any use of it till now. The 7 treasure divine elixir would allow his divine body to recover a few more times. Chapter 2180 Emperor Bai, and the Blood Emperor Bai, and Jian Wushuang stood side by side in the middle of the battlefield. The Blood Emperor stood not far away, arms crossed. There was a trace of surprise on his ferocious face. I had completely destroyed his holy body, but he recovered all the same. Interesting, this inverse cultivation of yours. Emperor Bai and Jian Wushuang had their serious faces on. It was no understatement to call them immortal after having obtained the perfect chaotic holy body via the 7th inverse cultivation step. Under normal circumstances, Jian Wushuang and Emperor Bai would never have exposed their powers, but now their hands had been forced. Jian Wushuang, this is not a battle you can win. Step to one side, Emperor Bai said. Jian Wushuang flinched, but he could do nothing. It was true, Blood Emperor was too strong for him. If not for his perfect chaotic holy body, he would have died. Emperor Bai, can you face him alone? Jian Wushuang asked. I don't know, but I have to try, Emperor Bai replied solemnly. Jian Wushuang frowned, but said no more and retreated to the nearby void. So, you intend to fight me alone? Are you even worthy of fighting against me? Blood Emperor laughed. Emperor Bai said nothing, but the golden armor on him shined more brilliantly than normal. At the same time, a unique power swept out of his body, covering him. The power was star power. Emperor Bai had practiced secret skills of Star Palace as well. The secret skills of Star Palace is one of his strongest trump cards, and he intended to use it directly. HNGH. A sneer was made, and Emperor Bai made his move once again with the help of star power. The gigantic golden shadow behind him started glowing. A large fist was raised, instantly becoming a golden sun. The golden sun was dazzling, glaring. Everyone's gaze could not help but be attracted by it. Blood Emperor looked up as well and squinted slightly. 7-star black sect. Secret skill of 7-star? Ha! It is a good secret skill. But you lack the ability. You will only multiply your powers by reading the first script. What would that do to me? Blood Emperor had a hint of contempt in his words. He gave a direct slam. The slam was followed by an ancient bell resonating around. A gigantic crimson divine demon appeared out of thin air, different to his consciousness embodiment. The divine demon had completely formed, and destructive aura way beyond chaotic realm levels could be easily felt. The huge palm smacked. It smacked against the golden sun. Pung! With a loud bang, everything fell quiet. Endless power stirred the heavens and earth, forming a storm of divine power like never seen before. The storm swept everything around it. Jian Wushuang and the other eternal chaotic world experts had retreated far from the battlefield, yet the storm was so strong that they could barely open their eyes. At the core of the storm of divine power, Emperor Bai's face was awfully white. Once again, he held on to brutal power in his hands. Instantly, another giant golden sun was formed. Punch after punch formed golden suns, bombarding the enemy like mad, each punch enough to destroy a great emperor. Yet Blood Emperor was still not taking it seriously. Now he used both palms. Each of his palms, like enormous crimson mountains, blocked the golden suns entirely. Within a breath, Emperor Bai and Blood Emperor collided about 10 times. Xiao! Xiao! Emperor Bai burst back into retreat, whereas Blood Emperor took a step back as well. You made me move. Blood Emperor looked at Emperor Bai once again and smiled coldly. Guess I need to take you a bit more seriously. Saying that, he flipped his palm, and a demonic crimson spear appeared in his hands. The spear exuded terror itself. The density of its aura was stronger than any divine weapon Jian Wushuang had ever come across. Without a doubt, the spear meant death. The Blood Emperor had never used a divine weapon, even as his consciousness embodiment. Now, he took out his crimson spear. Come, Emperor Bai, let's try this again. Blood Emperor smiled faintly and threw out his spear at lightning speeds towards Emperor Bai. It looked normal, the spear. But the moment he thrust out, a large crimson vortex appeared out of nowhere, swallowing everything in its path. Even a good great emperor would be devoured in an instant against such a vortex. Emperor Bai used both of his hands. Wong! Another large golden sun appeared out of thin air, once again. Regardless of size or presence, the golden sun was much stronger than ever before. The collision between the golden sun and the crimson blade was not as dramatic as expected, only the sounds of dense forces being pushed around. Emperor Bai's face suddenly darkened. A terrifying force passed through his arm, causing him to retreat. Ha ha! The Blood Emperor was not affected at all, and went straight for Emperor Bai. His crimson spear did not stop. Each thrust was fast beyond imagination. No one around could catch up with that speed. The crimson spears kept coming. It was hard for Emperor Bai to defend while retreating, a complete mess. Not long after, his body was stabbed several times. Though the holes were soon repaired, Emperor Bai was indeed being suppressed. After the secret skills of Star Palace, increasing his powers tenfold, Emperor Bai is still being suppressed. Jian Wushuang and the other eternal chaotic world experts were in dismay. Chapter 2181, Unstoppable. Emperor Bai used his 9-star armor and reached the fighting power of a stage for Great Emperor. A stage 4 Great Emperor was equivalent to chaotic divine demon realm. Emperor Bai cast secret skills of Star Palace and allowed his overall power level to increase tenfold. This meant that he was one of the stronger ones among the chaotic divine demon realm. This was the strongest that Emperor Bai could ever get. The results: Emperor Bai was still suppressed in every way possible. The battle powers of the two were not of the same level. The secret skills of Star Palace could only last for 10 seconds. Emperor Bai could barely stop Blood Emperor within the then seconds. What would happen after 10 seconds? Many of the experts from the eternal chaotic world looked desperate and had no hope left. Under the crazy suppression by Blood Emperor, the 10 seconds were up. Whoosh! Once the time was up, the star power dissipated as his fighting power dropped significantly. The Blood Emperor used his spear and thrusted towards Emperor Bai. Emperor Bai could not stop the spear and was penetrated by it. A wave of divine power burst forth from the spear and strangled the divine body of Emperor Bai. Within seconds, the divine body of Emperor Bai reformed almost instantly. I see. Both of you have the same techniques. Blood Emperor laughed coldly, unsurprised. Emperor Bai pulled away from Blood Emperor as he fell silent. Jian Wushuang and the experts from the eternal chaotic world all fell silent. Even after using the secret skills of Star Palace, Emperor Bai could not stop Blood Emperor. Who else from the eternal chaotic world could stop him? Will the eternal chaotic world really be destroyed in the hands of the Blood Emperor? Ancestor Tian Chun was shaking uncontrollably as he stared at Blood Emperor. Is there no other way? Abysmal Saint Master laughed bitterly. We tried our best. Even the Sword Emperor and Emperor Bai used all they have. It is too bad that the Blood Emperor is far too strong. The underworld god shook his head. All the experts were overcome with grief and desperation. Jian Wushuang turned around and took a deep breath before he sighed. Everyone, let us use everything we have before we die. Everything we have. Ancestor Tian Chun and everyone else turned to look at Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang said firmly, soul ignition, self-explosion, everything we have. Ancestor Tian Chun and the remaining experts were stunned. Soul ignition? Self-explosion? They would be sacrificing life for life. It does not matter if we die. At least the eternal chaotic world is still around and can continue to exist. If Blood Emperor does not die, then the eternal chaotic world will turn into the next 3 emperors' world, where everyone will die. Jian Wushuang continued word by word. For the living things on the eternal chaotic world, for our home, we must kill Blood Emperor, no matter what it takes. Jian Wushuang turned crazy. The experts from the eternal chaotic world clenched their fists upon hearing what Jian Wushuang said. They were ready to give everything they had. They had no choice, and they could not back off. Once they backed off, the eternal chaotic world would be destroyed, and they would still eventually die. What, are all of you going to sacrifice everything you have and try to kill me? Blood Emperor looked at Jian Wushuang and his friends with interest and smirked. He could see what Jian Wushuang and his army planned on doing. They would cast soul ignition and self-explosion to try and kill him as well. The question was, would he care? He was in the chaotic divine demon realm, and experts at this realm were not as simple as Jian Wushuang thought. No matter how many ordinary chaotic realms there were, it was almost impossible for them to threaten him. Ha ha, come, let me see all of you struggle even though there is no hope left. The Blood Emperor smiled. He held his blood-red spear and took a step. He walked forwards slowly. Each of his steps placed pressure on the experts from the eternal chaotic world. He liked to see the look of desperation on the faces of his enemies. Blood Emperor got closer to Emperor Bai and Jian Wushuang with each step. Under the huge pressure, the look on the experts from the eternal chaotic world turned even crazier. Be prepared. Jian Wushuang said coldly as his voice reverberated in the ears of every expert from the eternal chaotic world. The experts from the eternal chaotic world were prepared to die. They were prepared to sacrifice themselves by casting self-explosion and causing the most damage to Blood Emperor. Right before the Blood Emperor was about to attack, he stopped in his tracks. He halted and turned his head in other directions. Looks like an interesting guy is here. Blood Emperor squinted his eyes as a glimpse or seriousness replaced the playfulness in his eyes. Jian Wushuang and the others realized as they too looked in that direction. A figure in the distance. He was the size of an ordinary human. He wore a clean, snow-white cloak. He had a cold and arrogant vibe as his tall figure stood tall in space. He radiated no aura, just like a cloud of air. It did not feel like he belonged to this place at all. However, this man had eyes that showed he could disregard everything to stand up to even heaven and earth. He stood there motionless and quiet. However, it was like he was the focus of the universe. Even after reaching the chaotic divine demon realm, Blood Emperor could not cover this man's presence. He is the experts from the eternal chaotic world all stared at this figure who had just appeared. "It's him," Abysmal Saint Master exclaimed as his eyes widened. It was as though he was looking at the scariest man in the world. Abysmal Saint Master felt fear like never before. He could never forget this man, his eyes and his sword. That man was his nightmare. When Emperor Bai and Jian Wushuang saw the man, they were excited. This man who had just appeared was Emperor 13. Chapter 2182, Arrival of Emperor 13. Emperor 13, an expert from the ancient past. He was a mysterious man, and no one knew for sure how powerful he was. Back then, during the battle during the lineage of Star, the darkness from Abysmal Saint Master had disappeared with just a simple stare. One simple slash had destroyed Abysmal Saint Master's body armor and almost killed him. After fighting head-on with Emperor Bai, he had forced Emperor Bai back with a simple sword. And that was simply a consciousness embodiment. But now, this was the original body of Emperor 13. The original body had come personally. Jian Wushuang and Emperor Bai were excited. Even though they were clueless about the true identity of Emperor 13, they deduced he was on their side from his previous actions. Emperor 13 reached the center of the battlefield in front of Blood Emperor. His looked at Blood Emperor coldly and indifferently. Even the Blood Emperor shook when he met the gas. It was cold and arrogant, disregarding everything and everyone around. It was as though to Emperor 13, Blood Emperor was nothing more than air. Blood Emperor was angry but helpless when he saw that gaze. Emperor 13 had been one of the most powerful men back in the ancient past. He was top 5 in terms of power level during the battle on the ancient battlefield. On the other hand, Blood Emperor was, even though he was an emperor from the Blood Clan, there were 6 emperors from the Blood Clan. He was the weakest out of the 7. He was incomparable to the great Emperor 13. Back in the ancient past, he would have run without hesitation when he saw Emperor 13. But now it was different. Emperor 13, I have heard from Demon King Chinyu that you are in the same state as me. Your original body fell into a deep sleep, and only your consciousness embodiment is around. It does not seem like the case. Now, your original body is awake. Blood Emperor squinted his eyes and stared at Emperor 13. The great battle of the ancient past was too horrific. Many of the experts from the ancient past were severely injured and had fallen into a deep sleep. Furthermore, the stronger one was, the longer they would sleep and the harder it was for them to wake up. If not for the opposing blood formation, who knew how long Blood Emperor would take to wake up. However, Emperor 13, back then, during the battle, your injuries were much lighter than the others. It is normal for you to wake up after such a short period of time. The Blood Emperor continued. Emperor 13 stood there coldly, not saying a word. It was like he did not hear Blood Emperor at all. Seeing this, Blood Emperor's face twitched. Just like in the myths, you really are quiet. Back in the ancient past, Blood Emperor did not meet Emperor 13 before, but he had heard of his quiet nature. He rarely spoke. Even if he did, he would not speak rubbish. Even if he spoke, he went straight to the point. Emperor 13, what do you want to achieve in coming here? Blood Emperor stared at Emperor 13 nervously. Emperor 13 looked up as a glint of killing intent flashed across his emotionless eyes. Killing you. 2 simple words came out of his mouth as it radiated out in the battlefield. Immediately after he said that, he attacked. A sword appeared in his hands. Back at the lineage of Star, Emperor 13 used his fingers as swords and managed to defeat Emperor 13 with just his consciousness embodiment. Now, Emperor 13 took out a sword. This sword looked simple, yet sharp. It only radiated death. It seemed like an ordinary sword. Once this sword was drawn, the Blood Mountain sword in Jian Wushuang's hands trembled. Jian Wushuang could feel a different emotion coming from the sword. There was some terror in it, but more of unyielding. It was the first time Jian Wushuang had felt this kind of unique emotion coming from the Blood Mountain sword. Emperor 13 swung the sword towards the space where Blood Emperor was in casually. The swing was so casual, it looked like it contained no power at all. Similarly, there was no divine power nor sword essence felt. However, the moment the sword started swinging, boom, heaven and earth was shocked as the heaven and earth at the center of the battlefield exploded. A large crack appeared as it enlarged at an unbelievable pace to an astonishing size. 1,000 feet, 10,000 feet, 100,000 feet, 1,000,000 feet. It ended up being 1 trillion feet long. The moment the crack appeared, everything including space-time, air, and every element there was disappeared. In this space, there were no elements. There was only a sword light. It was dim and inconspicuous. On a normal day, this sword light would not attract any attention at all. However, this sword light was the only remaining substance left in this space. It turned into the one and only for all eternity. This is that sword skill. Emperor Bai and Jian Wushuang stared at this sword light in disbelief. Both recognized this as the sword skill that had defeated Emperor 13 back then. The only difference was that this sword light was even stronger and more breathtaking. Everyone was breathless. Everyone was staring at that sword move. As for Blood Emperor, his attitude was completely different. Before, he had been almighty, proud, and treated Emperor Bai and Jian Wushuang as though they were his playthings. This was the same even after Emperor Bai casted secret skills of Star Palace. But now, he was deadly serious when he was dealing with the sword skill that Emperor 13 had cast. When the dim sword light appeared in front of him, the blood-red spear in his hands moved. Boom! A ray of crimson light pierced the sky as the space behind the Blood Emperor turned into 18 Azura, hell. The endless sea of red was out of place in this world. Blood Emperor became the absolute emperor in this sea of crimson red. His thrust his blood-red spear out. The moment the blood-red spear moved, deafening roars could be heard from within the sea of crimson red. It was as though the souls and remains within the sea of crimson red were angry and expressing their unwillingness to resign themselves to their fates. Chapter 2183, Leader of the Seven Stars. Under the horrified looks of everyone around, the weak but eternal sword light collided head-on with the blood-red spear. Boom! A deafening sound was heard. The entire three emperors' world trembled and threatened to collapse under the pressure. At the edge of the sky, the sea of blood red dimmed as the souls in the sea of crimson red fell silent. Sword light started to disperse in all directions. Whoosh! Whoosh! A figure appeared far in the distance as he steadied himself. This red figure was Blood Emperor. As for Emperor 13, he stood there coldly with an ordinary and dim sword in his hands. Emperor 13 has the upper hand. Emperor Bai raised his eyebrows in relief. That is right. Jian Wushuang clenched his fist and replied. The experts from the eternal chaotic world were elated. After the short exchange of blows, the sword light from Emperor 13 dispersed the sea of crimson red and forced Blood Emperor back. Everyone knew that Emperor 13 had the absolute advantage. Back then, Emperor 13 only used his consciousness embodiment to fight me, and I felt he was strong beyond belief. He was the reason why I believed that stage for great emperors existed. Now, it looks like he is much stronger than even I had imagined. Emperor Bai said, seriously, even though this is the case, it is still too early to be happy. Jian Wushuang said. It was true that during the short exchange just now, Emperor 13 had had the upper hand. One exchange was not sufficient to conclude the power level of Emperor 13 and Blood Emperor. Most importantly, even though Blood Emperor had been suppressed during that fight, he was smiling in an elated manner. His smile got wider and wider. At the end, he burst out laughing. Ha ha ha! His laughter reverberated in the battlefield. Experts from the eternal chaotic world could not understand why he was laughing, as he was obviously at a disadvantage during the battle just now. Only Jian Wushuang, an Emperor had a bad feeling of what was about to happen. After Blood Emperor stopped laughing, the way he looked at Emperor 13 was completely different. He had had a serious and fearful expression before. After all, Emperor 13 had been far too terrifying back in the ancient past. He had no confidence in going up against Emperor 13 after all those years of living fearfully about Emperor 13. After that short exchange of blows, he had gained the confidence to fight Emperor 13 head-on. Emperor 13, I thought that you were still that leader of the 7 stars back in the ancient past, the man who could force experts to submit to you and have the power to stand up to even the master of the Holy Land. If it was back then, I would have retreated without hesitation if I ever ran into you. But now, under the restriction by the heaven and earth, you are only in the chaotic realm. Even if you have incredible techniques, you can't use them. Under these circumstances, what are you going to beat me with? At this point, the fear that Blood Emperor had was gone. In its place was desire. The desire to kill Emperor 13. Emperor 13 was a high and almighty man. To Blood Emperor, what else could be more exciting than to kill Emperor 13 with his own hands? Hearing what Blood Emperor had said, Emperor 13 was still emotionless and had no changes at all. On the other hand, Jian Wushuang and Emperor Bai were stunned. From what Blood Emperor had said, they picked out a lot of information. First and foremost, Emperor 13 was one of the peak superpowers back in the ancient past. Second, Emperor 13 was a member of the 7-star Black Sect. 7-star Black Sect, leader of the 7 stars? A man who can make everyone else submit and even challenge the master of Holy Land. Jian Wushuang muttered to himself. He did not understand what it meant to be the leader of the 7 stars, nor did he understand how powerful master of Holy Land was. But he could deduce that Emperor 13 had been one of the superpowers back in the ancient past. At least in front of the Emperor 13, the Blood Emperor was nothing. Even the Blood Emperor admitted that he had no courage to stand up against Emperor 13 and would retreat whenever he saw him. Ha ha! Die, Emperor 13! Blood Emperor roared with laughter and excitement. Blood Emperor attacked. He took a casual step out, but that step was so fast that no one from the eternal chaotic world could see it that clearly. An endless sea of crimson red spread out once again. Before this, the sea of crimson red had only appeared behind the Blood Emperor. Now, it covered the entire heaven and earth. Everyone could feel the strong killing intent coming from the sea of crimson red. Emperor 13 stood at the center of the sea of crimson red, indifferent as ever. He slashed out with his sword once more. The same casual movement, but this time it was a sweeping action. The sword light created had no aura at all. However, the sword light created a large hole in the sea of crimson red. This hole started to enlarge as it tore the entire sea of crimson red, revealing the endless dark void. Emperor 13 then flicked his wrist. He thrust his sword forward again. A sword light burst forth. This sword light was not dim and weak. On the contrary, it shone brightly. It was so bright that most people could not even open their eyes. In the move before, the move had been extremely dim. Now it was extremely bright. They were on the opposite ends of the spectrum, far in the distance. The experts were shocked and curious at the bright sword light. There was no one in the direction that Emperor 13 had slashed his swords towards. Who was he targeting with this slash? Right when this question popped up in the heads of the experts, a blood-red figure appeared under the illumination of the bright sword light. This figure became the target for the bright sword light. Everyone around took a cold breath, as they were all amazed by the incredible techniques Emperor 13 had. Chapter 2184, Half-Step Divine Demon. The blood-red figure was Blood Demon. Blood Emperor was not surprised when he saw the bright sword light turn brighter. He used the blood-red spear in his hands like a stick as he used it to smash the sword light. A bloody shadow of a blood-red dragon collided onto the sword light. That bright sword light was smashed into pieces. Blood Emperor took a step forward and appeared in front Emperor 13. His irises were filled with excitement as his body was boiling in blood chi. Boundless sea of blood. Splash! Large amounts of blood chi liquefied and turned into clouds of bloody mist. This mist was endless as it covered the entire heaven and earth, including Emperor 13. The entire sea of blood crashed towards Emperor 13. The sea water formed little blood snakes, which contained incredible power. Each had the power to fight against peak stage 2 great emperors. At least 100 of these snakes were formed from the sea of crimson red. The hundreds of blood snakes slithered towards Emperor 13. On the other side of the battlefield, Jian Wushuang, Emperor Bai, and the other experts from the eternal chaotic world were dumbfounded when they saw the sea of blood. The Blood Emperor was not using his full power to begin with. He did not even use half of his fighting power. Emperor Bai clenched his fist tightly as he looked at Blood Emperor defeated. He cast secret skills of Star Palace, which enabled him to have 10 times his usual fighting power. Even so, he was at a disadvantage when he fought Blood Emperor. After 10 breaths, he could not even hold his ground against Blood Emperor when his secret skills of Star Palace duration was over. At that point in time, he threatened Blood Emperor, who was in the chaotic divine demon realm. He only understood that Blood Emperor had not used his full strength when he saw this battle against Emperor 13. Back then, Blood Emperor had not used any secret skills. He had fought casually. With his fighting power, can Emperor 13 stand up against the Blood Emperor? Emperor 13 muttered to himself. Jian Wushuang too looked on coldly, but he had the same worry deep in his heart. If back Emperor 13 had been back in his prime, he could have defeated Blood Emperor easily. However, this heaven and earth had big restrictions. Emperor 13 could only use power up to the realm of chaotic realm. Many of his secret skills, techniques, and understanding of rules of order had been suppressed to a very low level. On the other hand, even though Blood Emperor had also been placed under the same restrictions, he had his opposing blood formation, which had allowed him to break the rules and restrictions temporarily. This gave him the power of an expert in the chaotic divine demon realm and utilize rules of order and other higher forms of techniques. Under this circumstance, was Emperor 13 still a worthy opponent? Within the boundless sea of blood, many of the blood snakes were on their way to bite Emperor 13. Emperor 13 stood there coldly and indifferently, one man holding on to one sword. He swung his sword out. Every swing was extremely smooth and casual. However, this kind of sword skill killed tens of the blood snakes. After several of these swings, more than half of the blood snakes were dead. Large numbers of snakes were formed continuously from the sea of flood as they charged towards him endlessly. There is no use. This is one of the secret skills that the Blood Clan have. You should have fought against it back in the ancient past. Unless you can destroy the boundless sea of blood, you will be drained to death. It is a pity that I can only use power up to the level of the chaotic divine demon realm. Hence, only the weakest type of snakes are formed. If not, even so, it is more than enough to kill you. Emperor 13, there is no way you can destroy the boundless sea of blood while you are a mere chaotic realm expert. Prepare to die. Never have I thought that a man that could stand up to even the master of Holy Land would die in my hands. Ha ha ha! Blood Emperor roared with laughter, looking as though the death of Emperor 13 was inevitable within his sea of blood. Blood Emperor would tremble with excitement whenever he had the thought that the almighty Emperor 13 would die in his hands. That was Emperor 13. During his prime, the strongest leader of the Blood Clan could barely go up against him. There were not many such superpowers back in the ancient past, and now one was going to die by his hand. Once Emperor 13 died, all the treasures he had would fall into the hands of the Blood Emperor. He was elated. Emperor 13 remained cold and emotionless after he heard the Blood Emperor's laughter. He took a glimpse at the boundless sea of blood that was creating blood snakes. Suddenly, a sword essence erupted. At that moment, it was as though he was a sharp blade, a blade that had existed since the dawn of time and undergone eons of polishing, and finally became the unmatched legendary sword. This sword hovered there as a limitless amount of sword essence pierced the sky. Even the earth trembled under the influence of the sword essence. Far from the battlefield, Jian Wushuang and Emperor Bai and the other experts were dumbfounded by the limitless sword essence. This is especially the case for Jian Wushuang, as he was a sword user. He could clearly sense how deep and complex the sword essence was. He meditated to the sword doctrine and had an incredible understanding of the sword principle. However, his understanding was like a drop of water in a vast ocean compared to Emperor 13. At the same time the sword essence pierced the sky and shook the ground, the aura on Emperor 13 started to grow at a fast pace. This is Blood Emperor widened his eyes in surprise. He could clearly feel the aura of Emperor 13 skyrocket. It had original Libyan at the chaotic realm. Now, it was climbing to a new level above the chaotic realm. Chaotic divine demon realm? No, this aura is more powerful than a chaotic realm expert's, but I have yet to fully enter the chaotic divine demon realm. He is in the half-step divine demon realm. Blood Emperor muttered to himself as shock was written all over his face. Half-step divine demon. This was the realm between the chaotic divine demon realm and the chaotic realm. This man, Blood Emperor, stared at Emperor 13 in disbelief. Chapter 2185, Blood Essence. Unbelievable. Yes, Blood Emperor could not believe his own eyes. He clearly knew how powerful the restriction this heaven and earth had. Under normal circumstances, anyone in this heaven and earth could only use power up to peak chaotic realm. Under these circumstances, he only reached the chaotic divine demon realm after years of planning to create this opposing blood formation via his consciousness embodiment, sacrificing countless lives of living things within the three emperors' world. To reach where he was, he had sacrificed far too much. He had never expected that Emperor 13 could reach the half-step divine demon realm. Even though half-step divine demon realm was still different from chaotic divine demon realm, this meant that Emperor 13 had the power to influence this heaven and earth. However, Emperor 13 did not have the help of any formation, nor had he sacrificed anything. He had only used his fighting power to influence this heaven and earth to reach half-step divine demon realm. On one side was a man who sacrificed greatly, took a long time to create a formation to influence heaven and earth. On the other side was a man who was not prepared at all, but used his raw power alone to influence heaven and earth. The difference between the two was clear. Emperor 13, who used his sword essence alone to influence the heaven and earth, stood there coldly before he swung his sword again. The same move, but its power was many times greater than it had been before. The sword light sliced the boundless sea of blood apart into pieces. The entire boundless sea of blood collapsed. The secret skill that Blood Emperor cast with all his might crumbled. Looks like your power is not much stronger at the half-step divine demon realm. However, now you can use rules of order. Your battle power is much greater than before. Blood Emperor's face turned dark. The fighting power that Emperor 13 had displayed was far beyond Blood Emperor's expectations. He could only dream of killing Emperor 13 now. At that point in time, Emperor 13 attacked again. This time around, Emperor 13 moved instead of simply swinging his sword. He swiped it casually before flicking it upward. A clean yet complex move. The speed was so fast that none of the experts near the battlefield saw the move. Blood Emperor was not afraid of that move. His blood chi boiled as he thrust out his blood-red spear viciously. On the battlefield, Emperor 13 and Blood Emperor were brawling it out at close range. Both of these two were much more powerful than the peak experts within this era and had incredible techniques. This battle amazed the experts from the eternal chaotic world. They are far too powerful. King Chunxing took a deep breath and said, looking at the battle, their billions of feet of space were turned into a battlefield. They could barely see two auras colliding in the center of the battlefield. Blood Emperor and Emperor 13 were so fast no one could actually see them. The most they could see were sword lights or spear lights. Every sword light looked simple, but they were extremely complex. Jian Wushuang excelled in the sword principle and had the highest understanding of the sword doctrine among the experts of the eternal chaotic world. Even he could not dissect the complicated sword lights within the battlefield, as each sword light was extremely deep and complicated. This was after Emperor's sword principle receiving great restrictions from heaven and earth. He could use the bare minimum of his sword skills, swordsmanship, and rules of order. How powerful would Emperor 13 be if he was at his prime? This swordsmanship, Jian Wushuang was engrossed. Jian Wushuang felt that a new door had appeared in front of him, which could bring him to greater heights in terms of swordsmanship. The swordsmanship he had honed up till today was nothing. The other experts, too, were stunned. Even Emperor Bai stood there dumbfounded. Emperor Bai was the strongest man in this era. He clearly knew he had no right to enter this battle. Emperor 13 could influence the restrictions the heaven and earth had on him to reach the half-step divine demon realm. With this new power, he could even go with Blood Emperor, who was in the chaotic divine demon realm. However, this does not change anything. Emperor Bai frowned. Jian Wushuang's face turned dark. What Emperor Bai had said was indeed true. Blood Emperor had to die in order for this war to be over and for eternal chaotic world to be safe. The Blood Emperor had to die so that the opposing blood formation would stop running and the eternal chaotic world would then successfully survive this ordeal. If the Blood Emperor did not die, he could control the formation to cover the eternal chaotic world and kill the countless living things within the eternal chaotic world to gain more blood chi. With more blood chi, he would be so strong that he would be unstoppable. If that were the case, even Emperor 13 would not be able to handle him. What should we do? Jian Wushuang frowned. At the same time, in the middle of the battlefield. Emperor 13, looks like you aren't called the leader of the 7 stars for nothing. You can go even with me, even though you are in the half-step divine demon realm, and I am in the divine demon realm. It is a pity that the restrictions of this heaven and earth have such a strong effect on you. If I had more time to guide this opposing blood formation towards eternal chaotic world, I could collect even more blood chi. At that point in time, you, Emperor 13, will die. Blood Emperor laughed hysterically. Emperor 13 frowned. This was the first time he had showed expression ever since he had started his battle against Blood Emperor. It was obvious that Blood Emperor was a difficult person to deal with. It was just difficult to deal with. Emperor 13 continued to cast sword skills in his battle against Blood Emperor as he scanned the battlefield. He looked at Jian Wushuang. Emperor 13 raised his eyebrows as a special blood essence appeared in his palm. He flicked his palm as this blood essence flew towards Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang was shocked. He had not communicated with Emperor 13, and yet he immediately knew what Emperor 13 wanted him to do. He stretched out his arms to catch the blood essence. Once he had caught it, the blood essence seeped into his body. Instantly, a seemingly unlimited amount of special power filled Jian Wushuang. This special power was star power. Within the blood essence, there was star power that was many times purer than the star power he accumulated when he used secret skills of Star Palace. His stored star power could only allow him to cast the third scroll of the secret skills of Star Palace for one attack. Now, the star power was sufficient for him to cast the third scroll of secret skills of Star Palace for 30 minutes. Secret skills of Star Palace. Jian Wushuang cast the third scroll to secret skills of Star Palace immediately.